On a rainy day, a car speeds down a deserted road looking like it's in a hurry to get somewhere. It turns out it's not just one car but a whole convoy of black vehicles moving together. Suddenly the entire procession screeches to a halt in the middle of the street. In the back seat, a man in a suit asks why they stopped since they haven't arrived yet. The red-haired driver looks nervous and tells his boss that he needs to see what's ahead. Getting annoyed, the boss looks forward to see what could possibly be the problem. In the middle of the road, a single young man is standing there blocking their path. The boy just stands his ground without any fear even as the car gets closer. Leaning forward, the boss is completely baffled by this kid's gutsy move. With an angry look, he orders all of his men to get out of the cars immediately. The young man then yells that people like them will not be allowed to enter his village. A bunch of goons in suits get out of the vehicles holding umbrellas for their leader. They all start walking towards the boy, who is still standing alone in the rain. One of the guys mockingly asks if he got hit in the head the last time they met. The leader then steps up, threatening the kid and asking if he wants to get seriously hurt. The kid snaps back, telling the leader to shut up since he just hides in the back doing nothing. This comment clearly gets under the boss's skin as a vein pops on his forehead. He scoffs, saying these days knowledge is more powerful than brute force, which is why he's in charge. The leader then orders a bald man named Kong to take care of the troublesome boy. With a smug smile, Kong strolls towards the young man, ready for a fight. Our protagonist immediately gets into a fighting stance, preparing for the attack. But he's clearly nervous and starts to doubt if he can actually win this time. A quick flashback shows him getting totally wrecked by this same guy just a week earlier. Kong smirks, noticing his opponent's fear, and taunts him about it. Tossing his umbrella aside, the bald man gets serious about the confrontation. He dashes forward, yelling that if the kid is just going to stand there, he'll attack first. Kong throws a fast jab, aiming straight for the young man's head. The fist closes in on the boy's face, who seems surprised by the sudden move. A memory of his training appears, showing someone teaching him about using his lead hand. His master explained that once in range he should put his full body weight into the punch. The memory continues with his master telling him to throw a straight right after the jab. He visualizes a fist flying towards his face as part of the training simulation. His teacher explains that this is the 1-2, the most basic combo in all of boxing. Back in the present, our protagonist's punch connects squarely with Kang's face. The young fighter can't believe it and is shocked that his attack actually landed. Now furious, the bald man starts yelling at the kid for having the guts to hit him. Immediately, the protagonist dodges a wild haymaker thrown by his enraged opponent. He then follows up with a powerful uppercut that smashes right under Kang's chin. The big goon is completely stunned and his eyes go blank for a second. With a final yell of frustration, Kong is sent flying backward from the strong hit. The boy looks on with a determined expression, surprised by his own strength. A close-up of his eye reveals his intense focus and the adrenaline of the fight. We get another flashback of his master mentioning Kong is in a higher weight class. He predicted the manager would just charge in like a bulldozer, swinging wildly. His teacher then instructed him to pretend to be Kong so they could practice countering it. In the flashback, the kid tries to act like his opponent, but his master just says his acting sucks. The teacher then instructs him to slip lightly to the left when the big guy throws a punch. A sinister smile appears on the master's face as he continues the lesson. He tells his student to aim for the opponent's left side after dodging the attack. That's where the liver is, and a good hit there will make his whole body seize up. Our protagonist remembers this lesson as he prepares to land that exact liver shot on Kong. The master had ordered him to practice the 1-2 combo 1,000 times. And then practice the slip and liver shot another 1,000 times to perfect it. He promised that with this combination the boy could handle the manager however he wanted. Returning to the present, his fist is clenched and ready to unleash all that training. He lands a solid punch right into Kang's side, exactly where his master told him to aim. The big man immediately winces and grabs his side, completely winded by the blow. The young fighter doesn't stop there and unleashes a furious flurry of punches. Every single hit lands perfectly, targeting the manager's weak spots with precision. Finally, he delivers a powerful elbow strike straight to Kang's face, ending the fight. With a final elbow strike, he puts all his training into one powerful blow to the face. The manager staggers backward, completely shocked that he's been so easily defeated. With a last pained groan, the big goon collapses onto the wet pavement, out cold. The young fighter looks on in disbelief, still trying to process what just happened. A huge smile appears on his face as he celebrates his incredible victory. But from the ground the defeated man mumbles something, making the boy confused. His expression quickly changes to one of shock as he realizes what's happening. The manager was actually shouting in order for his other men to attack the kid. A flashback shows the boy asking his master what to do about the rest of the thugs. The teacher explained that if you beat the strongest one, the others will get scared and run. Even back then our protagonist looked worried and unconvinced by this advice. Because in the present the remaining goons are all charging at him, proving his master wrong. The story then jumps back in time, showing us the events from 1 week earlier. We see a quiet country road at night with only a few streetlights illuminating the area. The silence is broken by the sound of a foot in an orange clog stepping on a twig. It's the young fighter who proudly announces that he's finally finished with his project. He's built his very own outdoor gym using sandbags and other handmade equipment. Putting on a pair of red work gloves, he gets ready to start his training session. He then gets into a proper fighting stance in front of a makeshift punching bag. A close-up on his face reveals a look of intense focus and sheer determination. The scene then transitions to a peaceful daytime view of the beautiful countryside village. We hear the protagonist narrating about the famous saying of how it takes a village to raise a child. He explains that after his parents died in an accident, he came to live there with his grandma. At first everything was new and unfamiliar, but he didn't have time to feel overwhelmed. The young boy couldn't help but cry a lot because he missed his parents so much. But all the elderly villagers gathered around him, making funny faces to cheer him up. He was showered with so much love from everyone that he instantly felt like part of a big family. The story then cuts to the Sunshine Village Community Center where a meeting is being held. An old man who seems to be the village chief addresses the residents about an important matter. An elderly woman then speaks up, saying they're short on budget and should lower their expectations. Another lady argues that they absolutely must make it the best this time around. She then proposes that they give up the snack budget for the whole month to save money. The other villagers passionately agree, saying they can easily survive 1 month without their snacks. Our protagonist remembers crying loudly that night when he heard about their sacrifice. The very next day the villagers surprised him with a brand new school backpack. With huge smiles they told him to study hard and that Grandpa gave up his jelly money for it. They had scraped together what little cash they had and even hand-stitched his name on everything. It was a simple gift, but it meant the entire world to the young boy. He still keeps all of those items safe to this day, remembering their incredible kindness. Inspired by famous boxers, he decided he would become world-class to repay their love. Back in the present, he plants his foot firmly on the ground, ready for the next move. He remembers all the endless hours of training he put in just to get stronger. Day after day he practiced on his makeshift punching bag, even in the pouring rain. With a determined gaze he clenches his fist, focusing all of his power into it. Unleashing his strength, he throws a powerful punch that echoes through the whole night. He tells himself that he can't slack off on his strength training no matter how tired he gets. Lying on his back, he believes that if he just keeps working hard, a chance will definitely come. His ultimate goal is to get a chance to become a professional boxer and make his village proud. Meanwhile, his grandmother is sleeping while the TV news talks about events from the previous night. Waking up, she wonders where that punk has gone off to so late at night without sleeping. She also gets annoyed that he left the TV on, which is just a big waste of electricity. The news anchor then announces that Han Construction has plans to expand their resort business. A dark and cloudy sky suddenly appears, signaling that something bad is about to happen. Elsewhere in the village, an old man is tending to his crops with a small gardening tool. His friend asks if he heard that Han Construction completely wrecked the neighboring town. He explains that they started buying land but then just left the entire place in a huge mess. Suddenly one of the men notices something approaching in the distance and gets confused. A single black car is seen speeding down the quiet country road towards them. The car's tire gets dangerously close to a small dandelion growing on the roadside. It then zooms past the two elderly men, who can only watch as it disappears down the road. A whole convoy of black cars then appears, driving down the same narrow road. A man in a sharp suit and fancy shoes steps out of one of the vehicles. He's the leader and he's brought a whole bunch of tough-looking guys with him. They all head straight for the village's community center where everyone is gathered. The villagers are completely outnumbered by the director and all of his hired goons. With a fake smile, the man greets the elders and apologizes for taking up their time. Our protagonist sees everyone is there and gets a bad feeling something is wrong. The leader then introduces himself as Kang Hon, the head director of Han Construction. Wasting no time, he announces that he's going to get straight to the point. He holds up a contract and says they want to buy all the land for their new resort. With a smug grin, he offers 300,000 won per pyong, calling the villagers thugs. The young fighter gets furious, saying there's a limit to how low they can go with their offer. The village chief then steps forward and calls the director a dirty scammer. He angrily tells the man to name a proper price and that nobody there is willing to sell. The director tries to say they can go higher, but the chief just screams at him to get out. The director gets annoyed that the old man keeps resisting and even grabs his suit. Getting angrier, he grinds his teeth and complains that he was trying to be nice to them. He then completely loses it and starts insulting all the elderly villagers present. Fed up with the situation, he orders his red-haired subordinate to take care of the problem. With a sinister smile, the subordinate mocks the old man for being so threatening. He then aggressively pushes the village chief to the ground and claims it's just self-defense. Our protagonist can only watch in absolute horror as the old man falls to the floor. He quickly rushes over to help the chief, who is groaning in pain about his back. Seeing this, the protagonist's grandmother starts yelling at the punks for causing so much trouble. The red-haired goon turns to her and rudely asks if she was raised without any parents. He then gets even more disrespectful, calling the old woman a hag for talking so much. Not stopping there, he raises his hand, preparing to strike the elderly lady right in the face. With a cruel smirk, he follows through and slaps the grandmother with all his strength. The impact is so strong that the pot she was holding goes flying out of her hands. She then collapses onto the hard pavement, completely stunned by the sudden attack. A fire of pure rage ignites in the young man's eyes as he witnesses this cruel act. The red-haired goon gets a bit nervous, thinking it'll be bad if the old lady actually dies. But he quickly tries to justify his actions, saying that's what she gets for talking back. Suddenly, a powerful punch smashes into the side of his face, sending him flying. The force of the blow sends the disrespectful punk tumbling backward onto the hard ground. Completely dazed on the pavement, he struggles to understand who could have hit him. It was our protagonist, who lunges forward with incredible speed, grabbing the thug. With a furious expression, he screams, demanding to know what he did to his grandma. Not waiting for an answer, he unleashes a non-stop barrage of punches on the guy. The director sighs, unimpressed that his man can't even handle one single country brat. He then takes a confident step forward, deciding it's time to change tactics. Looking at his bald subordinate, he orders the man named Kong to step in and finish this. The boy now finds himself facing a much larger and more intimidating opponent. But he stands his ground, demanding they apologize to his grandparents and leave. Kong just bursts out laughing, finding the kid's defiant glare to be absolutely hilarious. He then mocks the kid for acting so threatening when he's clearly outmatched. With a cruel laugh, he throws a punch and sarcastically calls it self-defense. The powerful fist closes in on the young man, who braces for the impact. But at the last second, he manages to dodge the attack by slipping to the side. Seeing an opening, he throws a quick counter punch, aiming for the manager's gut. The hit lands, but the big goon barely even flinches from the boy's attack. Our protagonist realizes he had a perfect chance to land a counter, but it failed. It turns out that Kang's raw strength was just on a completely different level. Easily grabbing his arm, the bald man taunts him, saying his punch is way too weak. The young fighter is completely shocked and can't believe the huge power gap. A single punch to the stomach leaves the kid on the ground, struggling to breathe. Looking up in disbelief, he sees the manager preparing to finish him off for good. With no mercy at all, Kong delivers a powerful kick straight to the boy's head. The big man then stands over him, celebrating his quick and effortless victory. Even after that brutal kick, the young fighter is still somehow conscious and groaning. Kong gets annoyed that the kid is still glaring at him and calls him completely hopeless. With a bored expression, he then orders the rest of his men to finish off the boy. The other goons immediately start kicking the downed protagonist and mocking his toughness. Held back by other thugs, the villagers can only scream for Gang Chan to run away. Blood drips from his face onto the ground as he struggles on his hands and knees. The red-haired punk taunts him, saying this isn't some kiddie fight that ends with a nosebleed. Suddenly the grandmother gets up and begs them to stop, saying it was all her fault for yelling. Tears and blood stream down her face as she pleads for her grandson's safety. With a pained expression she begs them to just hit her instead of the young man. Seeing her sacrifice, the boy tells them to just take all of their anger out on him. The director looks up annoyed as it starts to rain, asking why she won't just sign the papers. One of his men quickly moves to open up a large black umbrella for his boss. He then complains that the rain is completely ruining his expensive designer shoes. Announcing they'll stop for today, he tells them to keep things civil for their next meeting. As they leave, he warns the kid not to call the police since they can easily bribe any local cop. With a sinister grin, the director adds that they have footage of the grandson hitting them first. Getting into his car, he warns them to be smart because they'll be back in 1 week for an answer. After they leave, the grandmother asks if Gang-chan is okay and says they need to go to a hospital. But then she suddenly grabs her head in pain, making the young man scream out in panic. The village chief tells him to carry her over to their house so she can get some immediate rest. Once inside, they check her injuries and are relieved that it's not a serious brain issue. The chief explains she just scraped her head on a rock and will be fine after some rest. Hearing this, the boy just looks on with a pained expression, feeling completely helpless. He watches over his grandmother, who is sleeping peacefully with a bandage wrapped around her head. The old man then tells Gang-chan that he also needs to get all of his own injuries treated. But with a determined look, the bruised young man clenches his jaw and turns away. Putting on a brave face, he insists that he's fine and asks them to care for his grandma. He then walks back out into the pouring rain with a new fire burning in his eyes. Filled with rage, he starts unleashing a flurry of powerful punches on his sandbag. The young man trains harder than ever before, knowing he only has 1 week to prepare. He punches the sandbag over and over again, pouring all of his anger into each hit. Every single impact is filled with the frustration he feels for being so helpless. Without stopping for a break, he continues to train, pushing his body past its limits. The rain and his sweat mix together as he unleashes a powerful hook on the bag. A close-up reveals that his knuckles are now completely bruised and scraped up. But even with the intense pain, he refuses to give up on his quest for strength. Finally exhausted, he stops punching and just stands there in the pouring rain. A single teardrop falls from his eye and splashes onto the muddy ground below. He then breaks down, crying out loud, asking himself if he's really just this weak. The rain continues to pour down from the sky, washing away all of his tears. But unknown to him, a mysterious man has been watching him from behind a tree. The long-haired stranger observes the boy's emotional breakdown with a calm look. The young fighter is still standing there, completely unaware that he's being watched. Another teardrop splashes onto the wet ground as his despair continues to grow. He's completely lost in his own sadness and frustration over being too weak. The heavy rain continues to pour down from the dark and cloudy sky. Suddenly the boy looks up and notices the long-haired man watching him from the woods. The stranger just stares back with a calm and curious expression on his face. Completely startled, the young fighter watches as the man slowly walks towards him. Quickly wiping away his tears, the protagonist nervously asks who the stranger could be. A flashback shows he recognizes the man as the famous boxer he saw on the news. He remembers watching a sports show about a fighter with perfect distance control. This boxer named Seo Jun landed a flawless left hook right as his opponent's guard opened. With his incredible skill, he proved that his position as champion was completely solid. When asked about his plans, he said he wanted to train alone somewhere quiet for a while. Back in the present, the man confirms that the young fighter has recognized him correctly. The boy is in total shock and wonders if he's just dreaming about the world champion. Seo Jun tells him it's not a dream and that he's just looking for a good spot to camp. The protagonist asks if there's a place to train in their village, but the man says no. He explains that top fighters often train their minds in quiet places with few people around. Seo Jun then lectures the boy, saying a boxer should never let emotions control his punches. He points to the kid's bloody knuckles, telling him that as a fighter he must protect them. Completely flustered, the young man looks down and struggles to find the right words to say. And so Gang-chan ends up explaining the entire situation with the thugs to the champion. After hearing the story, Seo Jun gets enraged and yells about those rotten bastards. He then unleashes a monstrous punch that completely rips the sandbag wide open. Clearing his throat, the champion apologizes for wrecking the boy's only piece of equipment. The protagonist says it's fine, then cheekily asks if he didn't just let his emotions take over. Seeing the training spot, the long-haired man decides this would be a great place to camp out. The young fighter gets an idea and asks if the pro could maybe watch his boxing for a bit. With a smirk, the champion asks if he should do it for free since many people beg him for help. He starts boasting about being a hero, but his stomach suddenly starts grumbling very loudly. An incredibly awkward silence falls between them after that very embarrassing interruption. Looking away, the great boxer then sheepishly asks the kid if he has any rice to spare. The next day, the heavy rain has finally stopped and the sky is much brighter than before. The next morning, the champion takes a big bite out of a rice ball that the boy gave him. He's completely shocked by how good it tastes, even though it's just a simple snack. Gang-chan watches him eat and notices how much the professional is enjoying the food. Seeing how hungry he is, the kid offers his own portion, which the boxer gladly accepts. After finishing the meal, Seo Jun says that now he feels like he owes the boy a favor. So he agrees to watch his boxing for a bit, telling him to do a 1-2 hook combo. The young fighter gets into his stance while the pro watches from the sidelines. With a serious look, he prepares to show the champion everything he's got. He then unleashes the combination with all the speed and power he can muster. After finishing the combo, he eagerly asks the professional how well he did. But the champion just calls his form complete trash, listing out all of his many mistakes. He then physically demonstrates one of the biggest flaws in the kid's technique. The pro explains that his guard is way too high, making it totally useless in a real fight. He then brutally tells the boy to just give up since he has no talent for boxing at all. Desperate for help, the young man begs the champion to please teach him just a little more. But the champion flatly refuses, saying a world champ has better things to do than teach him. He explains that he's also here to train for himself and isn't just on some kind of vacation. Hearing this, the young boy looks completely heartbroken by the harsh rejection. But the professional just lets out a tired sigh as if he's having second thoughts. He then tells the kid to follow him if he can keep up since his own training is starting now. Overjoyed by this chance, the protagonist screams out a huge thank you to his new master. The training begins with a long run as Seo Jun explains that stamina is the most basic part of boxing. Next up is 5 rounds of jump rope, which is great for building endurance and footwork. Then they move on to 7 rounds of shadowboxing, which is the most important training of all. The champion tells him that for today they'll be doing image training against an infighter. Their imaginary opponent is none other than the legendary infighting king Mike Tyson. A close-up of the legend's eye shows the sheer intensity of the imagined fight. As the visualization begins, the pro immediately slips to the side, dodging a powerful punch. He then weaves under another one of Tyson's signature devastating haymakers. The champion notes that just as expected, the legend always charges in without backing down. He keeps his opponent in check with a flurry of jabs while trying to create some distance. But with Tyson's peekaboo style, it's almost impossible to land a clean hit on him. A powerful uppercut from the legend then closes the distance in an instant. With a focused look, the champion knows that now there's no more room for backing away. After landing a solid hit, he immediately slips to the side to avoid a counterpunch. Watching him intently, the young fighter asks if he's currently fighting an infighter. This sudden question completely catches the professional boxer off guard. The boy explains that he guessed it because the champion was backing away from his foe. Seo Jun is stunned that the kid could figure out his opponent just by watching his moves. He wonders if it was just a lucky guess or if the boy actually has a good eye for boxing. With a slight smile, the champion thinks that he might be starting to like this kid a little. The training then continues with 7 more rounds of hard work on the sandbags. They even trade body shots, with the professional yelling at his student to hit harder. Next, he teaches the boy how to properly parry a punch to protect his face from damage. The training ends with a brutal set of pull-ups on a tree branch to build upper body strength. Their intense workout continues with a grueling set of push-ups on the muddy ground. Next up is some forearm training using a homemade device with a water bottle for weight. After that, they hang from a thick tree branch and start doing some core-burning leg raises. The montage of pain includes endless sit-ups and even some unconventional rock throwing. The intense training is so brutal that eventually Gang-chan can't hold it in any longer. Seeing the boy completely exhausted, the champion wonders if he's finally reached his limit. But he's actually impressed that the kid's stamina isn't bad and that he kept up with the pro routine. The professional reflects that most people only see his glory, not the hard work he puts in daily. He knows that once people see this brutal reality, they almost always just run away scared. So now he's really curious to see how this determined young fighter will react to it all. But to his surprise, the boy is laughing, saying he can't keep up with a world champion's training. He admits he's still far from a real fighter but believes he can seize the next opportunity. The champion is completely speechless at the kid's incredible and unyielding determination. He wonders if the boy is sane for keeping up with his routine without any proper training. With a genuine smile, the world champion finally admits that he really likes this kid. The champion snaps the boy out of his daze, telling him to get back up on his feet. He explains that as an active fighter he won't be able to train him all the time. But with a confident smile he promises to train with the kid for as long as he's there. Gang Chan's face immediately lights up with pure joy and excitement at this incredible news. He screams in disbelief, asking if the champion really means it, and the pro just says yeah. But before they can get back to their workout, the young fighter suddenly gets a serious look. The champion remembers that the thugs said they would be back in exactly 1 week. He then tells his new student that a man has to finish things properly before he leaves. 1 week later, the heavy rain returns as the promised day finally arrives. We see a flashback of our protagonist landing a powerful 1-2 combo on the manager. The big man staggers backward, completely stunned by the sheer force of the clean hits. With a pained groan, he struggles to stay on his feet after taking that much damage. In the present, the boy looks on nervously as he's completely surrounded by the other thugs. But a smile appears on his face because he knows that his master's teaching really works. He's then confused as the defeated manager on the ground mumbles something about crushing him. The young fighter's face fills with shock as he hears the manager's desperate command. From the ground, the bald man screams at the top of his lungs for his men to attack. Although he's clearly scared, the boy clenches his fists and gets back into a fighting stance. Without wasting a second, 2 of the thugs immediately charge towards the lone fighter. The first guy throws a wide punch, but our protagonist easily ducks right underneath it. With a determined look, he sees a perfect opening and gets ready to counterattack. He quickly lands a powerful body shot right into the red-haired punk's gut. But the thug just smirks through the pain, saying that he's got him now. It was a trap all along, and he uses the boy's arm to throw him completely off balance. The young fighter screams in surprise as he's violently swung through the air. Seeing him vulnerable, the other goons immediately rush in to land a cheap shot. One of the thugs lands a solid punch right in the middle of his back. That powerful blow sends him stumbling forward and he completely loses his footing. The other guys all laugh and yell at their friends to finish the kid off for good. Even on the ground, he glares back at them with a look of pure determination. Surrounded by all the thugs, he wonders what he's supposed to do now. With a pained look, he thinks about how he might be failing to protect anyone again. But then an unimpressed voice just says wow from somewhere nearby. It's his master Seo Jun, who was watching the whole thing from a distance. He was even recording the gangsters on his phone, calling it great footage for the camera. The director finally notices the stranger and angrily asks who the hell he is. Seo Jun just smiles and asks if they were too busy playing gangster to watch the news. The champion then walks over and casually hands his umbrella and phone to Gang Chan. The director's eyes go wide as he finally recognizes the famous boxer. He yells out Seo Jun's name, and the pro is honored that even a thug knows him. The young fighter looks at his master with a worried expression, asking what his plan is. The leader threatens Seo Jun and orders his men to take the phone and delete the video. The professional just scoffs at the demand, so the director says they'll take it by force. Getting ready for a fight, the champion notes that these local guys can really throw a punch. He then clenches his fist tightly and thinks about how they believe he'd be scared of them. He mocks them for thinking he'd be scared of punches that only work in a street brawl. Ignoring his fame, the director just orders his men to grab the phone and delete the video. But the champion just laughs and says he has no intention of handing it over to them. The leader tells his men to get ready as they all surround the lone professional fighter. Clenching his fist, the champion thinks about how these guys believe he'd be scared of them. With a confident smirk, he finishes his thought about their useless street brawl techniques. Turning to his student, he tells the kid to watch him very closely to learn something important. He explains that if the young man truly wants to protect the people he cares about, then he absolutely needs to have the strength to match his own determination. The leader gives the final order and all of the thugs charge toward the champion. One of the bald goons rushes in first, screaming as he throws a wild punch at Seo Jun. But the professional just smirks and effortlessly ducks right under the sloppy attack. He then lands a devastating uppercut that sends the thug flying backward into the air. The solid punch connects perfectly with the man's jaw with a loud and painful sound. With just a single hit, the first goon is completely knocked out cold on the ground. Another thug screams in anger and charges forward to attack the champion. The professional easily slips to the side, dodging the man's wild punch with no effort. He then counters with a lightning-fast straight right that lands squarely on the guy's face. The punch stops just inches from his nose, leaving the thug completely frozen in fear. Gang Chan watches the whole scene unfold and is completely amazed by his master's skill. He thinks it's incredible how the pro took down guys he couldn't even handle without touching them. But then the red-haired punk gets cocky and grabs a baseball bat from one of the cars. With a smug look, he taunts the boxer, saying he's nothing without the reach of a weapon. The champion seems to realize the thug is serious about ending his boxing career right here. With a tired sigh, the pro accepts the challenge and gets ready to face the armed man. The thug yells about the champion having an image to keep as he swings the bat with full force. He screams that he'll be the one to retire the WBC champion for good. But the professional boxer easily weaves under the powerful swing of the metal bat. As he dodges, he simultaneously lands a clean punch right on the thug's jaw. However, after the punch lands, the champion clutches his arm in a great deal of pain. The champion thinks that if someone dares to come at him with a weapon like that, then he'll deliver a brutal body shot that breaks the thug with a loud cracking sound. Immediately, the red-haired punk doubles over in absolute agony and lets out a pained yell. He struggles to get any air into his lungs while drooling from the intense pain. With a furious look in his eyes, the professional fighter isn't finished with him just yet. He says his fist just flies out on its own as he lands a devastating final uppercut. The powerful punch sends the armed man soaring backward through the pouring rain. He then crashes hard onto the wet pavement, completely knocked out by the champion. Gang Chan can only watch the entire display of power with a look of pure shock. Even the director and his remaining goons are totally stunned and scared by what happened. The professional then turns to them and calmly asks if his actions count as self-defense. Completely intimidated by the boxer, the rest of the thugs all start to back away. Seo Jun looks a little disappointed by their reaction and asks if the fight is over already. He then taunts them for ganging up on a kid and then running away at the first sign of trouble. The director completely loses it and starts screaming at his useless men for failing so badly. The champion tells the director to just forget it since there's no point fighting cowards. With a sly grin, he says that instead of fighting, he'll make them a very good offer. He promises not to share the video as long as they apologize to the kid and leave. But the leader just laughs manically, refusing to apologize or trust the professional. Seo Jun's expression darkens as he asks if the man wants to drag this out any longer. The director says the boxer is misunderstanding the situation and that he is giving the chance. The champion retorts that choice is for the strong and tells the thugs to get lost now. Hearing this threat, the leader just grinds his teeth in complete and utter frustration. Finally giving in, he yells that they'll just go and find some other place to build. But as the man turns to leave, the professional fighter quietly calls out his name. A powerful slap then sends the director's glasses flying off of his surprised face. Seo Jun grabs him and mocks his tough act even as he was trying to run away. The leader is completely stunned by the sudden attack and yells in disbelief. Another hard slap from the boxer connects with the other side of the man's face. Holding his cheek, he asks if a public figure can even get away with doing this. The champion unleashes another hard slap right across the director's face. And then another one connects, making the leader's head snap back from the force. With one final powerful smack, the director is completely dazed and confused. The champion then takes a confident step forward, ready to deliver his final lesson. Stumbling backward, the leader can only look on in absolute terror at the angry boxer. Seo Jun tells him that he hates guys like him who start fights but hide in the back. He then says that if you attack someone, you should expect to be attacked back. The professional reminds him that the winner is the one who gets to make the decisions. With a menacing look, he gives the man one last chance to get on his knees and apologize. Blood drips from the leader's mouth as he trembles in fear from the intense pressure. Finally giving in to the overwhelming threat, his knees slowly start to buckle and bend. Gang Chan can only watch in complete disbelief as the arrogant man starts to kneel. With his head bowed in shame, the director finally apologizes to the young fighter. All of the remaining thugs can only watch in absolute shock as their boss is humiliated. After the thugs finally leave, the heavy rain stops and the sky begins to clear up. As the cars finally drive away, the young fighter just watches them disappear down the road. Gang Chan then turns to his master with a worried look, asking if the man is okay. The champion tells him it's not just about physical strength but also being in a position to protect people. Looking at his student, he says that the boy definitely has the potential to do just that. Seo Jun then explains he has to leave Korea but will introduce him to his own master's gym. But he warns that if the kid goes, he'll have to leave the elders for a while. Later that day, the young man tries to talk about his future plans with his grandmother. The old woman asks him where he thinks he's going all of a sudden with that serious look. She's completely shocked to hear he's leaving for Seoul to become a professional boxer. His grandma immediately calls it a foolish idea and says she will not approve of it. He argues that he beat the thugs and this is the only way he can think of to protect them. With passion, he declares he'll succeed just so he can spoil all of the village elders. But she says she never asked to be protected and doesn't want money from him getting hurt. The boy yells back that he's been practicing every single day without her ever knowing. Unconvinced, she still says no and asks why he wants to succeed through boxing. With a clenched fist, he struggles to find the right words to explain his deep desire. A flashback shows him telling his master that he simply just wants to box no matter what. He explained that if it's not boxing, then he can't feel that same kind of intense passion. Back in the present, he screams that he loves boxing just as much as he loves his family. With all his heart, he yells that if it's not this sport, then he can't possibly succeed. Hearing this powerful confession, his grandmother just looks at him with a complex expression. The young fighter stares back with unwavering determination, waiting for her final answer. The old woman's eyes start to well up as she finally understands her grandson's dream. She presses her lips together tightly, trying to hold back all of her emotions. Finally, she lets out a long and tired sigh as if she's finally made a decision. A memory appears of how Gang Chan has always been a selfless kid who cared for others. She recalls a time when she asked him if he wanted a lollipop that another boy had. But even then he just smiled and said it was okay, never being honest about his desires. The old woman realizes he never even once admitted that he missed his own parents. So with a new understanding, she finally tells her grandson that it's all right for him to go. The old woman admits that wanting to keep him there was just her own selfishness. She hugs her grandson tightly and says there's no way she could ever win against him. With a worried look, she just asks him to promise that he'll never get seriously hurt. A warm smile appears on the young man's face as he thanks his grandmother for everything. She realizes her desire to keep him safe by her side was just her being selfish. Embracing him, she admits that she could never stand in the way of his dreams. All she can ask is for him to stay safe on his difficult journey to the top. With a look of pure gratitude, he thanks her again for finally giving her blessing. The next day, he's struggling to tie up a huge bundle of things his grandma packed. Now loaded with gear, he complains about how he's supposed to carry all of this stuff. From the house, she scolds him, saying Seoul isn't that far, while carrying even more food. She insists he needs to eat well to get stronger, but he just whines about the weight. As he's about to leave with his master, she suddenly calls out his name one last time. She tells him if things get too hard, he can always come back home without any shame. With a gentle smile, she promises that nobody in the village will ever judge him for it. He laughs and says of course he'll come back, but he's definitely not going to give up. But his grandmother then notices the champion standing behind him and asks who that friend is. As the pro tries to introduce himself, the young man quickly cuts him off, just saying he's a guy he knows. With a huge grin, he then explains that this acquaintance said he would take him to Seoul. The old woman immediately gets mad and starts yelling at the champion for giving her grandson foolish ideas. But after her outburst, she gets a thoughtful look and says in that case there's something he can do. She then tells the professional fighter that he should help her grandson carry all of his stuff. With the champion now loaded with bags, she thanks him and asks him to take good care of the boy. Hearing this, the young fighter looks on with a warm smile on his face, feeling very touched. Waving goodbye, he tells his grandmother not to come out and she wishes him a safe journey. As he walks away with his master, the boy looks back with a serious expression on his face. He narrates that he thinks his grandmother stood there watching until they completely disappeared from her sight. Then he adds that she probably stood there watching the empty road for a long time after that. Snapping back to the moment, the kid apologizes to his master and offers to take the bags from him. But the pro just tells him to forget it since they just have to get to the car anyway. He tells his master that he feels bad for making him carry all of those heavy bags. But suddenly he looks up in complete shock as all of the village elders appear. They yell at him for trying to leave without saying goodbye and say his grandma told them everything. With big smiles they start giving him a bunch of food and gifts for his long journey. The boy is touched by their kindness but also a bit overwhelmed by all the attention. Then one of the other grandmas in the village calls out his name to get his attention. She thanks him for fighting the thugs and says the adults are ashamed they couldn't do it. With a pained look, the old woman struggles to hold back all of her emotions. She then bursts into tears asking who will keep his grandma company now that he's gone. The young man gets flustered and quickly promises that he will visit them very often. Meanwhile, the village chief turns his gaze over to the professional fighters standing nearby. The old man squints his eyes and asks the champion if he recognizes him from somewhere. But instead of a boxer, he just calls the champion a porter who helps carry luggage. The world-class fighter is left completely speechless by this hilarious misunderstanding. The chief then asks the strong porter to please take good care of the boy on the way to Seoul. Sometime later they finally arrive in the bustling city of Seoul, driving through the busy streets. Our protagonist looks out the window completely amazed by all of the gigantic buildings around him. They finally arrive at their destination, which is a place called the Gangseonga Boxing Gym. Inside the gym, the sounds of intense training fill the air as fighters work on their skills. Two guys are in the middle of a heated sparring session, trading punches back and forth. As our protagonist and his master step into the gym, the intense training suddenly stops. Everyone in the gym turns to look at the two newcomers with surprised expressions on their faces. They immediately recognize the champion and start freaking out, asking him for an autograph. But then a huge shadowy figure appears and yells at them for making so much noise in the gym. With a grin, the professional fighter says that the man is still the same as ever. He then calls him Coach Gang Seongu, who doesn't look very happy to see his former student. Seo Jun explains that he came by to say hello and also to ask for a very big favor. Getting straight to the point, he asks the coach to take our protagonist under his wing. The old coach looks down at the boy, who is completely intimidated by his massive size. The other boxers wonder just how talented this new kid must be for the champion to bring him here. The coach is curious and wonders how gifted the kid must be for Seo Jun to do this. With a serious look, he then tells the young man to put on a pair of boxing gloves. Getting into position, the old man says he wants to see the boy hit the mitts. He then yells at our protagonist to get into a proper fighting stance immediately. The coach holds up one of the mitts, getting ready to test the kid's skills. In the middle of the gym, the two of them face off as everyone else watches. But the old man is just left completely confused as the boy doesn't throw a punch. Seo Jun starts laughing and wonders if the kid even knows the signals for the mitts. So the coach gives a verbal command for a 1-2 weave and hook combo. After throwing the 1-2, the boy just gets hit on the head by the mitt. The old man holds the mitt against his head, completely unimpressed by the display. With a nosebleed, the kid looks just as confused as the bewildered coach. The champion laughs again, guessing that his student doesn't even know what weaving is. Seeing this, the other boxers in the gym just lose interest and turn away. And so our protagonist's difficult journey at the new gym officially begins. Inside the gym, our protagonist starts his training doing some shadowboxing. He has a look of pure focus on his face, ready to learn everything he can. The coach says since the kid can throw a 1-2, he'll explain boxing's evasive moves. First up is ducking, where you bend your knees and move diagonally to avoid jabs. Next he shows weaving, which uses side-to-side waist movement to dodge hooks. And the last basic technique he demonstrates is swaying by leaning the upper body back. He tells the boy these evasions must flow with his offense and to practice them now. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, the young man gets ready to train hard. With intense focus, he immediately starts practicing the new techniques he just saw. His footwork is quick as he tries to mix the evasive moves with his punches. Getting the hang of it, he starts to feel the flow and wonders if this is the feeling. Watching from the side, Seo Jun says the kid has athletic sense but not amazing talent. The coach then asks the champion what he was thinking bringing a kid like this here. He adds that the boy's talent is nowhere close to what the pro had at his age. The champion smirks, saying it's unfair to compare him to a legend, but there's more to it. He explains that his student's talent might not be obvious at first glance. The champion then asks the coach to train the boy and says he has to leave now. As he walks away, the old man asks if he'll be okay with his next tough opponent. With a confident grin, the professional just asks why his old master is worried. He then boasts that the fight will actually be a lot tougher for the other guy. Putting on a disguise, he then leaves the gym as a crowd of fans swarm him. The story then jumps forward 3 days, showing the young fighter training hard. He's now practicing his combinations with incredible speed and precision in the gym. The coach just watches him with a surprised look on his face, completely speechless. He's completely shocked that the kid is already pulling off a decent combo. He's also amazed that the boy has already fixed all the bad habits he pointed out. The old man then asks his new student what time he starts training every day. He follows up by asking when he finishes his workout, and the boy says 10 at night. Completely stunned, the coach yells that those are just the gym's operating hours. He then realizes he's never seen the kid come or go and gets a bit suspicious. With a nervous look, the boy struggles to find the right words to explain his situation. He then admits that since he has nowhere to stay, he's been sleeping in the boxing ring. The kid quickly apologizes for not asking, but the coach says he's not scolding him. Instead, he asks what the young man does before bed and is told he visualizes the training. This completely shocks the old man, since most kids just want to get out of practice. He then bursts out laughing and exclaims that the champion brought him a very interesting kid. With a new plan, he orders another boxer to go find someone named Seo-yun right away. The fighter named Sung-woo immediately says yes and runs off to follow the order. Our protagonist gets super excited for his first sparring match, but notes Seo-yun sounds like a girl's name. The old man just looks at him, completely confused by this random observation. He then confirms Seo-yun is a girl with 8 years of boxing experience under her belt. Eager to test him, the coach wants to put his new student in a sparring match immediately. Sung-woo understands the command and hurries to go find the opponent for the new kid. The young man is just buzzing with excitement, since this will be his very first official spar. But his innocent comment about the name just leaves the seasoned coach totally bewildered. It turns out his opponent is a 17-year-old girl named Lee Seo-yun with 8 years of experience. Inside the ring, the two fighters get ready for their spar as everyone else watches. With a serious look, Seo-yun puts in her mouthguard, getting ready for the match. Meanwhile, our protagonist just looks on, nervously clutching his big red gloves. His opponent thinks about going easy on him, since it's the rookie's very first time. The coach then walks over and tells the young man to put on his protective headgear. With a worried look, the boy takes the gear as he prepares for his first real fight. He then puts on the headgear and gets ready for the sparring match to finally begin. But he gets concerned and asks why she isn't wearing any gear and what if she gets hurt. Hearing this, the girl's eyes go wide with pure shock and a bit of anger. The other boxers immediately realize that the new kid just made a huge mistake. Taking off her jacket, Seo-yun then calls out to the rookie with a cold expression. Gang Chan just looks at her, completely confused by the sudden change in her attitude. She tells him not to worry about her and that he should be worried about himself instead. This just leaves our protagonist even more baffled, wondering why she's so mad at him. With a loud ring from the bell, the first round of the sparring match finally begins. The two young fighters then touch their gloves as a sign of respect before the fight. Seo-yun immediately gets into a solid fighting stance, ready to unleash her skills. Our protagonist admits to himself that he's really nervous for his first ever spar. Wasting no time at all, she lunges forward with a lightning-fast jab aimed at his face. The powerful punch connects squarely, sending the young man's head snapping backward. He's completely shocked by her incredible speed and can't believe how fast she is. A close-up on her eye reveals the intense focus of a seasoned and experienced fighter. She then unleashes a non-stop barrage of punches, pushing him back toward the ropes. The other boxers cheer her on while the coach just watches with a serious expression. He thinks that just because she's a girl doesn't mean the rookie can take her lightly. The old man knows she's the perfect opponent to help the kid get used to a real match. The young man struggles to block the flurry of attacks with his guard up high. He realizes her speed is on another level and those gangsters now feel incredibly slow. Unable to keep up, he's completely overwhelmed by her relentless and powerful assault. But even as he takes hit after hit, the young fighter stays focused on the match. His opponent continues to unleash a relentless assault, not giving him a moment to rest. The boy knows that if he can just find one single opening, he can turn this all around. Using the evasive moves he just learned, he manages to duck under one of her fast jabs. The experienced fighter is completely shocked that the rookie somehow dodged her attack. This move puts him right in her blind spot, and he sees that she is now wide open. Watching from the sidelines, the coach realizes that this is the moment he was waiting for. Now in a perfect position to land a counter, he gets ready to unleash his own punch. His opponent can only look on in disbelief, still trying to process how he moved so fast. The old man watches the fight with a new sense of interest in his determined student. All of the other boxers in the gym are also completely stunned by this sudden turn of events. But instead of attacking, he just celebrates dodging while the coach yells at him to hit her. He screams that boxing isn't dodgeball and that he needs to aim for the opening he made. The boy apologizes, saying he was just thinking about what he learned and forgot to apply it. This just makes his opponent even more annoyed that he's not taking this spar seriously. She is absolutely furious and can't believe that a total rookie just read her punch. The bell rings loudly, signaling the end of the very intense first round of the spar. In his corner, the boy says he's exhausted even though he was just taking hits. The coach tells him that's why he needs to find the right timing to land his own attacks. He also adds that dodging isn't the only way to keep himself from getting hit. The young fighter thinks about this new piece of advice, wondering what it really means. With another loud ring from the bell, the second and final round of the match begins. His opponent immediately lunges forward with another one of her lightning-fast jabs. But this time our protagonist raises his glove and perfectly parries the incoming attack. A close-up of his eye shows his intense focus as he gets used to her fighting style. The jab is deflected, but the girl immediately prepares to throw another powerful punch. He thinks to himself that he's finally getting used to the speed of her attacks. But she quickly follows up with a strong body shot that he couldn't see coming at all. Gritting his teeth in pain, he realizes he still can't manage to dodge all of her hits. He then parries another one of her attacks, but this time she looks completely surprised. She's completely shocked and wonders why it feels like the rookie is actually getting faster. With a huge smile on his face, the boy thinks this is a strange but really fun feeling. His opponent is completely confused, since rookies are usually too tired to even move after one round. But what she doesn't realize is that our protagonist's stamina is on another level. He ran around the mountains every day and trained for almost 2 years without ever taking a break. In terms of pure endurance, the young fighter is confident that he wouldn't lose to anyone. Back in the present, he finally manages to land a clean jab right on her face. The experienced fighter is stunned that he's already mixing in his own attacks with his defense. He doesn't let up and immediately follows through with another powerful punch of his own. The young man then smoothly ducks under her counter, getting into a perfect position to attack. Now in the middle of the ring, the entire momentum of the fight has completely shifted. Seeing this, she gets frustrated and starts pushing forward with a lot more aggression. This sudden change in her strategy catches the young fighter completely off guard for a moment. He then remembers his master's lesson about using the lead hand to measure the distance. The coach's words also echo in his head that dodging isn't the only way to not get hit. Applying what he just learned, he throws a fast jab right at her face, making her flinch. Watching from the side, the old coach realizes the boy's extended left wasn't at full power. It was a calculated move meant to warn her about his range and disrupt her whole approach. The experienced fighter now realizes she made a huge mistake underestimating the rookie. Her entire rhythm gets completely broken by that simple jab as he plants his foot firmly. Without a moment of hesitation, he quickly sidesteps and closes the distance between them. She's completely shocked that he's taking the offensive and coming in for a real attack now. With incredible speed, he unleashes a powerful punch that she knows is impossible to dodge. The red glove flies towards her face as she looks on in complete shock. But instead of her face, his punch lands squarely on her raised blue glove. The sparring match ends with him just hitting her guard as everyone in the gym watches. The other boxers are completely stunned by the rookie's performance while the coach looks on thoughtfully. Seo-yun is left completely speechless, wondering how he was able to land that hit. With a huge smile, the young fighter thanks her for the match and says he learned a lot. His opponent just looks at him with a bewildered expression, struggling to say anything. She then touches his glove and stutters a quiet yeah as the spar officially ends. The coach tells them both good work and gives Gang Chan some advice on his technique. He then scolds Seo-yun for letting emotions control her before ordering them to do shadowboxing. One of the other boxers then mocks the champion for bringing in a kid who didn't even land a hit. But Seo-yun gets annoyed thinking about how a total rookie managed to break her flow. She then realizes he timed that last punch perfectly with the bell and never meant to hit her. After that day, our protagonist continued to train and spar with the other boxers. The gym's rising star Park Sung-woo then excitedly asks the young man for a sparring match. This aggressive all-out infighting style became the boy's signature way of boxing. But a guy named Park Dong-chan, a 19-year-old fan of Seo-jun, couldn't accept him. With a smug grin he calls the kid nothing special while our protagonist thinks this is rough. So the young fighter spars with the gym's hard puncher, a 21-year-old named Park Woon. Even with all the protective headgear, the force behind his opponent's punches is incredible. His sparring partner then gets a bit worried and asks if he wants to take a short break. But the boy yells that he's fine and doesn't want to waste the guy's precious time. And so by sparring with everyone in the gym, Gang Chan started to grow very quickly. He even landed some solid counter punches on the guys who looked down on him before. His days were filled with non-stop training, from hitting mitts to running for miles. Before he knew it, a whole year had passed and he finally turned 18 years old. The time had finally come for him to go to the professional boxing license test venue. Inside the huge building, a single referee stands alone in the middle of an empty ring. An announcer then calls out for the next fighter, a man named Park Chang-soo from Gangdong Gym. A tough-looking guy with green hair and a bunch of tattoos then steps into the ring. With a sinister grin, the green-haired fighter says he hopes for a good match. His opponent is a 22-year-old lightweight named Park Chang-soo who looks confused. In the audience, a man in a suit looks surprised to see someone in the crowd. He's identified as Lee Do-jun, the president of the country's biggest MMA agency. Seeing this, the green-haired boxer thinks to himself that he's just hit the jackpot. The tattooed fighter then turns his attention to someone standing outside the ring. He realizes it's the famous coach Gang Seong-gu, who used to train the world champion. The cocky fighter feels like the entire stage has been set up just for him to shine. He believes that if he makes a strong impression here, becoming a star will be super easy. The announcer then calls for the next fighter, Lee Gang-chan, to please step into the ring. Hearing this name, the green-haired boxer wonders who his new opponent could possibly be. With a big smile, our protagonist introduces himself as an 18-year-old lightweight. Seeing the friendly kid, the tattooed fighter thinks this will be easy prey and pure luck. In the center of the ring, the referee gives both fighters the standard rules for the match. With a final look, the referee sends them to their corners and asks if they are ready. With a signal from the referee, the professional license test officially begins. The green-haired fighter smirks and says sorry since he's not planning on going easy. He then lunges forward, yelling that our protagonist will just be his prey for this match. But Gang Chan easily ducks under the wild haymaker with his well-practiced weaving. The tattooed fighter is completely surprised to see the rookie already inside his guard. Before his opponent can even react, the young man moves in with incredible speed. He then lands a devastating uppercut right under the green-haired guy's chin. Completely stunned, the cocky fighter wonders where that powerful punch came from. He desperately tries to refocus, thinking this is his big chance to impress everyone. But when he looks forward, our protagonist has already disappeared from his sight. Suddenly, the young boxer appears on his opponent's side, ready to attack again. He then unleashes a powerful hook that smashes squarely into the man's face. A pained groan escapes his lips as the force of the blow rattles his entire head. Not letting up for a second, Gang Chan follows with a brutal shot to the body. And with one final hook, he unleashes a flurry of attacks on the stunned fighter. Another hard punch to the body continues the relentless assault on the tattooed fighter. His eyes roll back into his head as the brutal attack continues to land perfectly. The green-haired guy's legs start to give out while he struggles to stay standing. A single drop of sweat rolls down his face, showing his complete and utter panic. With what little strength he has left, he desperately tries to create some distance. He then suddenly realizes our protagonist has trapped him in the corner of the ring. The young boxer just stares him down with a cold and relentless expression on his face. Wasting no time at all, Gang Chan unleashes another non-stop flurry of punches. The tattooed man can only cover his face and try to endure the painful beating. His face is now completely bruised and bloody as he takes hit after devastating hit. To him, our protagonist now looks like a terrifying shadow of pure unstoppable power. Completely overwhelmed, he silently wishes that someone would come and save him. A close-up of his eye reveals the sheer terror he feels in this one-sided fight. He desperately begs for someone to please make this incredibly painful beatdown stop. Seeing that he's had enough, the referee finally jumps in and officially stops the match. The referee holds back our protagonist as the defeated fighter's guard finally drops. Completely exhausted, the tattooed boxer collapses onto the canvas, unable to get back up. The defeated man looks on with fear as the young fighter slowly walks towards him. But with a friendly smile, Gang Chan offers a hand and asks if his opponent is okay. He then says it was a good match and sincerely thanks the guy for the fight. The green-haired boxer is left completely speechless by this unexpected kindness. He takes the offered hand and thanks the young man as he's helped back to his feet. The scene then cuts back to the gym where the coach is welcoming a visitor. On the floor we see our protagonist cheerfully cleaning while greeting his master. The old man comments that ever since the boy came, the gym has been sparkling clean. He tells the kid to just tidy up a bit, thinking about how kind-hearted he really is. Gang Chan just laughs it off, saying he is fine, but then gets a bit more serious. The coach then asks about the mysterious person who had accompanied him earlier. Suddenly the old man gets startled as that same person appears right behind him. Turning around with a flustered look, he nervously asks what the person wants from him. It is a woman in a suit who introduces herself as Kong Minji from the Champ Agency while bowing deeply. Both the coach and our protagonist are completely surprised by this sudden and unexpected visit. With a big smile, she explains that she is here to request a business meeting with the boxer Lee Gang Chan. Later in a meeting room, the old man asks her why she decided to come by so early in the day. She cheerfully says she arrived at opening time just in case the young fighter trained and left early. But the coach tells her that's not necessary since this kid is at the gym all day long anyway. Laughing nervously, the agent admits she was also worried another company would sign him up first. She then adds that her CEO ordered her to bring him in no matter what while crushing her paper cup. Suddenly she lets out a loud scream as the cup bursts and spills the drink all over the table. Gang Chan quickly apologizes and asks if she is alright while wiping up the entire mess. Recovering quickly, she gives a thumbs up and confirms that she is indeed from that famous agency. She then boasts that their company represents many athletes including the world champion Seo Jun. Minji then adds that there is a rumor going around that Gang Chan is actually Seo Jun's mentor. She excitedly says if he joins them he will get great promotions and they can negotiate bigger prizes. But the coach cuts her off, saying they know all that and what really matters now is his debut match. The old coach then asks the agent if she already has an opponent in mind for the boy's debut. With a huge smile she says yes, a boxer named Hwang In-young, and starts looking for his files. But she suddenly screams in panic, realizing her tablet with all the data got wet in the spill. The old man calmly tells her it is fine since he has already heard of that specific fighter before. He notes that the guy is pretty good and asks why they should match him up for a debut. She excitedly explains that Hwang In-young has a record of 3 wins and 0 losses, all by knockout. Minji says with Gang Chan's ability it is doable and that there is a reason for this choice. The agent then starts to explain the full situation, which all began about 6 months ago. She asks both of them if they can remember the big fight between Seo Jun and Damon Carter. Hearing that name, the old coach thinks back, trying to remember the details of that specific match. He recalls saying that it would not be an easy fight for the champion at all. The coach remembers that Damon Carter was undefeated with 15 wins and had a title shot. Everyone was excited that someone who could beat the champion had finally appeared, but the result was shocking. In the end he lost without even managing to leave a single mark on Seo Jun's face. And so the world champion handed the rising boxing star his very first professional loss. The agent explains that Carter could not accept his crushing defeat and immediately proposed a rematch. She adds the fight will be in Korea and they plan to open the big event with Gang Chan's match. Their plan is to market him as Seo Jun's disciple, so beating a rising star would be a perfect debut. The young man is completely stunned by the idea of being the opening act for his master's fight. With his arms crossed, the old coach admits that the terms of this deal are actually very good. He then turns to his student and directly asks him what he thinks about this amazing offer. Completely overwhelmed, the young fighter struggles to even get a single word out of his mouth. Then with a fiery look he screams that he really wants to do it to see his masters fight in person. The coach tells the agent she can tell her company they are very positive about the deal. Overjoyed, she promises to get the opponent's footage for tomorrow, but then trips and falls hard. With a nervous look, the boy asks his coach if it is really okay to trust someone so clumsy. The old man replies that you can trust the company since it is the same one Seo Jun uses. He then tells his student to stop worrying and go run outside to start cutting weight for the match. The next day his training becomes even more intense as he pushes himself past all of his limits. The old coach screams at him to keep moving his legs as the young man struggles to stay standing. Suddenly the young fighter feels extremely sick and throws up from the intense workout. The old coach yells, asking how a future champion can be folding from just that. With a frustrated look he complains that with stamina this weak the boy is in trouble. He then tells his student there is no helping it and to go jog by the river to take a breather. While resting by the water, the young man starts feeding a stray cat he finds nearby. Leaning closer to the small animal he kindly asks if the snack he gave it is any good. He then says it must be nice to just sit there and take whatever people give you. With a tired sigh the protagonist wishes he could just rest easy for a single moment. But then he suddenly pulls the snack away from the very confused black and white cat. He then starts hugging the small animal tightly as his emotions begin to overwhelm him. Clutching the cat in his arms, the young fighter silently pleads for some kind of release. With tears in his eyes he desperately wishes that someone would finally beat him already. Just then another young man in a red hoodie jogs past him along the riverside path. This new fighter thinks about the upcoming lead-in fight for his own master's match. He declares he cannot smear his teacher's name and that he absolutely must win this fight. It turns out that this other young man is actually Hwang In-young, our protagonist's next opponent. He thinks about how this is the opening fight for his own master and how he cannot tarnish his name. With a determined look in his eyes he declares that this is a fight he absolutely has to win. Back at the gym the coach shows his student footage of Hwang, noting all 3 of his wins were by knockout. He explains that all of his wins were counter punches created by avoiding the opponent's attacks. The old man then outlines their strategy, which is to make it look like an infight at first. But our protagonist suddenly asks how to stop the video, making the coach ask why all of a sudden. The old man is shocked the kid is worse with smartphones than him, but the boy says he's never used one. Gang Chan then asks if their plan is good enough because there is something strange about their opponent. He points out that in the video it should be a moment where Hwang has the upper hand in the fight. But when he looks at the man's expression he just says that his opponent looks very sad. The boy then adds that it looks like the other fighter is someone who actually wants to lose the match. Hearing this the coach gets angry and yells, asking where in the world such a guy even exists. He then tells his student to stop saying useless things and just focus on his own training for the fight. The day of the match finally arrives as we see a man standing on stage for the official weigh-in. Our protagonist looks embarrassed about being shirtless, but his coach tells him to walk confidently. Stepping onto the scale his weight is announced as 60.8 kilograms, so he's cleared for the fight. A bunch of photographers then immediately swarm him, asking the young fighter to strike a pose for them. With a nervous smile he awkwardly makes a peace sign for the cameras as they take a ton of pictures. The announcer then says it is time for each fighter to step forward for the official face-off. Both of the young boxers then get into their fighting stances and face each other for the cameras. With a big friendly grin our protagonist cheerfully asks his opponent to please take care of him. But his opponent just looks at him with a dead serious expression and asks if this is fun for him. The young man's eyes are completely empty as he just stares at the cheerful fighter in front of him. He then says that he is actually envious that our protagonist can smile so brightly like that. Hwang adds that he has never once been able to smile while doing something like this before. This strange comment leaves our protagonist completely and utterly confused by his opponent's words. Even his old coach watches from the side and wonders what that was all about while someone else is there. It turns out the other man is Hwang's master and the old coach seems to recognize him. After the weigh-in, news of the fight spreads and even reaches his small remote village. Back in his village his grandmother looks on with a worried expression as she reads the news. 1 week later the big day finally arrives as an announcer hypes up the massive crowd. Under the bright stage lights the entire audience is cheering wildly for the matches to begin. The man then officially opens the curtain for the World Boxing Championship event. Our protagonist is completely stunned by the huge number of people in the audience. The announcer then introduces fighter Lee Gang-chan, the student of the champion Seo Jun. With a determined look, he finally enters the arena with his coach and Seo Yun by his side. Before the match, he thanks Seo Yun for agreeing to be his second for this important fight. With a huge smile on his face, he then promises that he will do his absolute best. But she just looks back at him with a very serious and annoyed expression on her face. She tells him that in times like this he should just say he will come back with a win. Hearing her harsh words, the young fighter just turns away with a confident smirk. Now in his corner, the old coach gives his student some final words of encouragement. He tells the boy to just do exactly as he practiced and he will be completely fine. As he steps into the ring, his opponent Hwang In-young watches him with an intense gaze. In the middle of the ring, our protagonist politely greets his opponent with a huge smile. Watching from the stands, the audience is confused by why he is so cheerful before a fight. Even with his big smile, a nervous laugh escapes his lips as the pressure builds up. He admits to himself that he is very nervous while his opponent just glares back seriously. When the referee asks if they are ready, the young fighter screams yes with a lot of energy. With a serious look, the referee then sends both of the young fighters to their respective corners. With a sharp hand signal and a loud yell, the referee officially starts the first round of the match. As the match begins, the two boxers touch their gloves as a sign of respect for each other. They start off by probing each other's defenses using their lead hands to measure the distance. The tense standoff continues as everyone in the crowd wonders who will make the first move. Without any warning, it is fighter Kong Chan who suddenly makes the very first offensive move. He easily avoids his opponent's lead hand with a smooth right duck, getting in close. Immediately after dodging the attack, he follows up with a powerful right hook of his own. With a calm expression, Hwang just watches the incoming punch with a great deal of focus. He thinks to himself that this attack is predictable and the boy is just like all the other fighters. But with a quick turn of his head, Hwang manages to just barely dodge the powerful hook. He is completely stunned by how close the punch came to landing squarely on his face. With a confident smile, our protagonist thinks to himself that he will be different from the rest. Hwang immediately unleashes a lightning-fast counter-punch after dodging the first attack. But our protagonist is completely ready for this and prepares to counter the counter-attack. Without a moment of hesitation, he throws his own punch with incredible speed and power. The first clean hit of the match then lands squarely on Hwang's surprised face. He staggers backward, completely stunned by the unexpected and powerful counter-punch. And so the announcer declares that the first clean hit of the match goes to fighter Kong Chan. Back in the gym, the coach admits Hwang is good but has a fatal flaw they can use. He then asks his student if he can spot what that specific weakness could be. But with a confused look, our protagonist just says that he is not entirely sure. The old man reveals it is arrogance, since his opponent has never fought a real challenge. So he predicts Hwang will try to end the fight quickly, just like he always does. The coach explains that Hwang is expecting this to be an easy fight, leading him into a trap. With a determined look in his eyes, the old man says that this is their big chance. He then declares that this is the perfect moment for them to finally strike back. In the present, that powerful body shot leaves Hwang completely dazed and confused. From his corner, the other coach screams at his fighter to focus and get his head in the game. Snapping out of it, Hwang gets a flustered look as he tries to regain his composure. The young fighter then unleashes another fast punch at his opponent's head. He follows up with a surprise high kick that the other fighter just barely manages to block. Planting his foot firmly on the ground, our protagonist gets ready for his next move. The two fighters then face off again, with Gang Chan preparing to unleash another attack. Struggling to catch his breath, Hwang is completely exhausted from the relentless assault. Meanwhile, our protagonist looks perfectly fine and ready to continue the intense fight. From his corner, the coach screams at him to use his jab to create some distance and recover. But with a nervous look, Hwang realizes that his opponent is closing in on him again. With a confident smile, Gang Chan unleashes another flurry of fast and powerful punches. A memory of his unconventional rock-throwing training suddenly flashes in his mind. The young fighter then starts to smoothly dodge all of Hwang's incoming attacks. He perfectly weaves through the barrage of punches without getting hit even once. One of the punches just barely grazes his cheek, but he remains completely unfazed. Hwang thinks to himself that the rookie's lead jab is too fast for him to dodge them all. The young man then plants his foot firmly on the canvas, getting ready for his next move. With his guard up high, our protagonist then rushes forward with incredible speed. Seeing this, Huang immediately throws a quick jab, trying to stop his opponent's advance. But the young fighter easily slips right under the punch and gets even closer to him. Huang is completely stunned and wonders if that last attack was just a clever feint. It was a feint, and our protagonist follows up with a powerful punch to the body. Huang's eyes go wide with pure shock as he realizes the real attack is coming. He desperately brings his guard up, trying to defend himself from the incoming blow. But the young fighter easily slips past the guard and lands a brutal body shot. The announcer screams that Gang Chan perfectly timed the attack, digging into his body. That powerful hit makes Huang stumble backward as his legs start to feel weak. Without letting up, our protagonist immediately unleashes another hard shot to the body. His opponent can only wince in pain as the relentless assault continues without stopping. Another devastating punch lands squarely on Huang's side with a loud thud. The announcer declares Huang can't get his footing as Gang Chan keeps attacking the body. A flashback shows the coach's plan for a long fight against a speedy opponent. He asked his student how to deal with fast footwork, and the boy said to shut it down. With a proud look, the old man confirmed that was their exact strategy for the match. The coach then explained the most efficient way to slow down an opponent's legs. He said body shots make breathing heavy and are the first to lock up the legs. A flashback shows the coach teaching his student to attack the body and then sneak in jabs to the face. The old man explains that boxers do not just rely on their eyesight to dodge punches, but they also use prediction. He says that after thousands of punches, a boxer's brain can calculate where the next attack will land. Back in the present, our protagonist knows that precision is always much more important than raw power. With a focused look, he also remembers that timing is what can truly overwhelm pure speed. He continues to pressure his opponent, who is now completely on the defensive from the assault. Suddenly, the referee jumps in between the two young fighters and yells for them to stop the fight. He then officially declares the end of the first round and sends both of the boxers to their corners. The announcer's voice booms through the arena, saying that it was an absolutely incredible first round. The commentary notes that fighter Huang Inyoung has actually never gone beyond the first round before. Not only did our protagonist survive, but he even managed to take control of the entire match. In the other corner, Huang's coach furiously yells at him for being so careless during the fight. He screams that his opponent is just an inexperienced rookie and that he should have been more careful. With a very intense look in his eyes, the coach then demands that his fighter must win this match. He reminds the young man what a huge opportunity this is for him to show off his own skills. From across the ring, our protagonist watches as his opponent gets a very serious talking to from his corner. With a focused look, he wonders what could be going on with the other fighter during this short break. The two young boxers then lock eyes and a tense atmosphere fills the entire arena before the next round. Suddenly, a flashback begins showing a young Huang back when he was only in the 5th grade of school. He recalls seeing a couple of middle school bullies tormenting a poor cat that had lost its legs. Seeing this incredibly cruel act, a fire of pure rage ignited inside of the young boy's eyes. Before he even knew what was happening, his fists had flown and he left the bully in a hospital bed. His father then bowed his head and apologized to the other boy's mother for what his son had done. The young Huang just stood there completely expecting his dad to get very angry with him for fighting. But instead of scolding him, the man just looked back at his son with a huge and sinister smile. It turns out that his father was actually a professional boxer during his younger days. But he was also a fighter who unfortunately had failed to ever reach his ultimate dream. He was a top-level fighter in Korea, but his fists just did not measure up on the world stage. Even with his name being known in the country, boxing was not enough to feed his family. And so with a heavy heart, the man was eventually forced to give up on his boxing dream. But then his once timid son managed to beat up some kids who were 3 whole years older than him. His father probably saw a talent in him that he never possessed, so from then on it was just endless training. The young boy looks completely empty inside even as his father celebrates his victory with a creepy smile. He realizes that through him his father was trying to live out his own failed dream all over again. The man was now living vicariously through his son's incredible success inside of the boxing ring. At one point he got so tired of it that he purposely threw a fight just to try and get away from it all. But that day his own father beat him so badly that he could not even walk afterward for a long time. With tears streaming down his face, the young boy just desperately wanted to escape his terrible life. Back in the present, our protagonist continues his relentless assault on the troubled fighter. He lands another powerful body shot that echoes loudly throughout the entire arena. The powerful impact makes Huang stumble backward as his footwork gets completely messed up. With a strange look on his face, the fighter thinks his opponent might be the one who can finally defeat him. He desperately pleads for the young man to end this miserable cycle he has been trapped in for so long. But as he looks at his opponent, he is completely confused by why the boy is smiling so brightly. This cheerful expression just leaves the troubled young fighter completely and utterly bewildered. With a confused look, the troubled fighter asks his opponent why he looks so incredibly happy. He then adds that there is absolutely nothing fun about being controlled like this for his entire life. Our protagonist replies that to him this entire boxing ring must feel just like a prison. But he then explains that to him this is a stage where he can pour out everything that he has. The two young fighters just stand there in the middle of the ring with the referee between them. With a determined look, he says this is the time where he can finally prove his own worth. So he tells his opponent to give it his all and not just fight against him in this ring. He then passionately yells for him to fight against whatever it is that chains him down in life. Hearing these powerful words, the troubled young boxer just looks on with a completely stunned expression. From the corner, his coach screams, asking what he is waiting for and for him to throw his punches. Wasting no time at all, our protagonist immediately unleashes a lightning-fast hook at his opponent. But Huang manages to duck just underneath the powerful punch as a rope from the ring snaps. The young man explains that he studied all of his fights to prepare for this important match. But he says that from watching his face, he never once saw a single ounce of joy in his eyes. It was just mechanical movements like a bully who was simply stomping on the weak. He then asks his opponent if this is really the kind of boxing that he wants to be showing. The young fighter explains that he has been watching Huang ever since that day by the river. And now in this fight he can feel that this is not the real person standing in front of him. He knows that his opponent is not the type of person who would ever bully those who are weak. With a confident look, our protagonist then declares that he is not any weaker than him either. He then passionately screams for the other fighter to pour everything he has into this match. Hearing this, the troubled young boxer just trembles as all of his emotions start to overwhelm him. With a confused look, he begins to wonder if he ever really did hate the sport of boxing. But then with a sudden realization, he understands that it was his own father that he truly hated. The boxing he loves is about standing up to those who are strong and pushing forward. A memory of him standing up to the bullies who were much older than him flashes in his mind. He also remembers the feeling of pushing forward no matter how scared he was in that moment. A dark silhouette of his younger self then appears as he prepares to fight the older kids. Back in the present, a new fire of determination burns in his eyes as he raises his guard. With a loud stomp, he firmly plants his foot on the mat, ready to finally fight for himself. With his new resolve, Huang finally unleashes his true fighting style as a powerful infighter. He then calls out his opponent's name, getting ready for the real match to finally begin. With a determined look in his eyes, he finally recognizes Gang Chan as a truly worthy opponent. A huge smile appears on our protagonist's face as he says that now this is getting fun. Wasting no time at all, the newly motivated fighter charges across the ring with incredible speed. A close-up of his eye reveals the intense focus of a man who is finally fighting for himself. The two young boxers are now locked in a fierce close-range battle, trading powerful blows. Huang then throws a lightning-fast punch as his opponent tries to slip and weave out of the way. Our protagonist is completely stunned by the speed and realizes he cannot dodge at this close range. With no other option left, the two fighters decide to trade powerful blows in a brutal exchange. The young man throws a powerful hook, but his opponent manages to block it just in the nick of time. He is left completely shocked that the other fighter was able to stop his attack so easily. From the corner, Huang's coach screams, asking why he suddenly switched to an infighting style. The two continue to exchange a furious flurry of non-stop punches in the middle of the ring. His coach can only watch in stunned silence as the incredibly brutal fight continues to unfold. Our protagonist is now being pushed back by the relentless assault from his determined opponent. From his corner, the old coach screams that his student is completely cornered and needs to escape. The young fighter tries to find an opening to break free, but the other boxer is not letting him go. With a confident look, Huang easily blocks the attack and says there is no chance of escaping. A powerful jab then connects squarely with our protagonist's face, sending him stumbling backward. It turns out that Huang is now using a technique called a ring cut to completely trap his opponent. Even while cornered, the young man looks on with an unwavering and focused expression on his face. His opponent also looks ready for anything as he raises his guard high for the next big exchange. But our protagonist gets a pained look as he is now completely cornered by his opponent. A lightning-fast punch then comes flying right at his face with incredible speed. The young man just barely manages to raise his guard in time to block the powerful blow. With a surprised look, he realizes that his opponent's attacks are getting a lot faster. Another hard punch then connects solidly with his head, sending a shockwave through him. Gritting his teeth in pain, the young fighter struggles to endure the relentless assault. His opponent continues to unleash a non-stop barrage of punches without any mercy at all. The two young boxers are now locked in a fierce close-range battle in the corner of the ring. With a determined look, our protagonist knows that he needs to get out of this corner fast. From his corner, the coach screams, telling him not to get flustered and remember his training. The old man reminds him that he has fought bigger and stronger infighters than this before. With a new focus, the young fighter remembers all of his intense sparring sessions back at the gym. A memory of his training with the gym's rising star Sungwoo suddenly flashes in his mind. He recalls the aggressive all-out infighting style of his senior, who was much stronger. In the flashback, Sungwoo lunges forward with incredible speed, ready to unleash a flurry of attacks. During his sparring with Sungwoo, he remembers getting completely overwhelmed by his senior's power. The young fighter recalls how every single punch from the rising star felt incredibly heavy. Even with his guard up high, the force of the blows still managed to push him back. The incredible pressure from the attacks was so strong it even made his feet slide backward. He remembers realizing that he was already completely trapped in the corner of the ring. With nowhere left to go, the young man could only try to defend against the relentless assault. In the memory, his senior continued to unleash a non-stop flurry of powerful punches on him. The rising star then taunted him, asking if he was just going to stay turtled up in the corner. He then yelled that even a cornered mouse has to bite back and fight for its own survival. His senior then explained that he had to throw his own punches to create an opening to escape. The advice was to use his attacks to slowly carve out some space instead of escaping all at once. Back in the present, our protagonist understands he must create an opening through pure offense. A new fire of determination burns in his eyes as he gets ready to counterattack his opponent. Applying what he just remembered, he unleashes a powerful punch of his own to create some space. He knows that he needs to use a string of powerful attacks to push the other fighter back. With a powerful punch, he finally manages to start pushing his opponent back from the corner. He then uses a quick feint to break Huang's rhythm and create a small opening in his defense. With a swift step to the side, he plants his foot firmly on the canvas, changing his angle. This sudden and unexpected movement leaves the other young fighter completely surprised. The protagonist successfully slips out of the corner and escapes the dangerous trap. Huang looks on in complete disbelief, realizing that his opponent has turned the tables on him. With a confident smile, our protagonist is now back in the center of the ring, ready to attack. He declares that the momentum of the fight has now shifted and that it is finally his turn. Taking a confident step forward, he gets ready to unleash his own relentless assault. A powerful jab then connects squarely with Huang's guard as he starts his combination. He then smoothly ducks right underneath his opponent's powerful counterhook. Wasting no time at all, he immediately follows up with a devastating shot to the body. The two young fighters now stare each other down with intense focus and determination. From his corner, the old coach screams at his student that this is the perfect setup. The old man tells him to remember all of the setups he has built up so far in this fight. Our protagonist stands in the ring thinking about the strategy he has been using so far. He knows what he has been stacking up throughout the entire match to gain an advantage. It is something his opponent simply cannot help but constantly worry about during the fight. He unleashes another brutal body shot just as his coach instructed him to do. With a pained look, Huang wonders if his opponent is going to attack his body again. The other fighter throws a punch in frustration, but our hero easily ducks underneath it. The two young boxers then get locked in another incredibly fierce close-range exchange. With a quick step backward, Huang desperately tries to create some distance between them. He then yells that he will not give the protagonist any space to breathe or recover. As another punch flies by, our protagonist smoothly ducks under the attack once again. With some quick and agile footwork he starts to close the distance between them. He then throws a quick jab to the head followed by another powerful shot to the body. Huang grits his teeth realizing the jabs are just a setup to keep him off balance. Screaming that he will break through the defense, Huang charges forward recklessly. But with a calm look our protagonist thinks about how he baited him with those jabs. With perfect timing he lunges forward at a moment his opponent would never expect. Huang is completely shocked realizing the boy faked a retreat to catch his lead foot. With some incredibly quick and agile footwork he closes the distance in an instant. A fast punch then comes flying right at his face but he is ready for the counter. Before Huang can even react the young man unleashes a powerful punch of his own. With a look of pure shock the other fighter sees the incoming attack but it is too late. A devastating body shot then connects squarely leaving his opponent completely dazed. With a pained groan his eyes roll back into his head from the sheer force of the blow. Wasting no time at all our protagonist continues the assault with a flurry of punches. Another powerful hit lands as he completely traps the other fighter against the ropes. A final red glove blurs as it flies straight towards Huang's face with incredible speed. The lightning-fast combination lands perfectly leaving the other boxer completely defenseless. Completely overwhelmed by the attack Huang's legs finally give out and he collapses. The referee immediately jumps in and declares a down as the young fighter looks on. The entire crowd goes wild at the explosive knockdown as the official count begins. As the official count begins our protagonist looks on with a very surprised expression. The count continues as both of the coaches watch the downed fighter with anxious looks. Seo-yun also watches from the audience with a completely shocked expression on her face. The downed fighter struggles on the canvas as the referee's count reaches 5. But with a loud stomp on the mat the other young fighter refuses to give up just yet. This sudden show of determination leaves our protagonist completely and utterly stunned. Somehow Huang manages to get back on his feet even though he looks very unsteady. Our protagonist can only watch in disbelief at his opponent's incredible resilience. A small but determined smile then appears on the bruised fighter's face. With a new resolve our protagonist knows that this time he has to finish the fight. The other boxer thinks to himself that this time he really did not want to lose the match. But the damage was too much and the other fighter finally collapses onto the mat for good. A huge and relieved smile then appears on our protagonist's face as he wins the fight. He then lets out a huge roar of victory as the announcer declares him the winner by knockout. The entire crowd in the arena then erupts into a massive cheer for the rookie's debut win. After the match Huang bows to Gang Chan saying it was an honor to debut against him. Our protagonist then grabs his opponent's shoulder to help him up after the intense fight. The announcer points out the great sportsmanship as Gang Chan helps his rival out of the ring. With a grateful look his opponent thanks him again for everything he did during the fight. Laughing it off our protagonist says it is nothing and that he is just helping him out a bit. With a genuine smile the other fighter thanks him again for helping him in more ways than one. But as he walks away he sees his own father staring at him with a shocked expression. With a newfound determination the young boxer walks straight towards his controlling father. He stumbles a bit from exhaustion but his resolve does not waver for a single moment. His dad reaches out to touch his chest as he struggles to get a single word out. But the young man slaps his hand away refusing to be controlled by him any longer. He then declares that he will not live by his father's wishes anymore and to stop worrying. A tense silence then falls between the two as the son finally stands up for himself. Meanwhile his own coach watches on saying that the boy's performance was really impressive. The man then adds that he had no idea his student had such an amazing talent for infighting. The young fighter just looks on with a completely stunned expression on his face. Sometime later he just stands in the yard with his father silently watching him from afar. Meanwhile our protagonist is walking down the hall and thanks both his coach and Seo-yun. He then says with a huge smile that he only won because of his amazing coach. The old man tries to act cool but is secretly super happy about the sweet compliment. Turning to his teammate he then thanks Seo-yun for being his second during the fight. She says it is only natural and then asks if he will be her second for her next match. With a huge grin the young fighter immediately says that of course he will do it for her. But then a group of familiar faces appears and congratulates him on his very first win. He is completely overjoyed to see the elders while they point out his bruised face. The old man says he has grown into a man and asks if he is hurt anywhere at all. Laughing it off with a huge smile, our protagonist quickly tells them that he is fine. But then he notices someone is missing and asks why his grandmother did not come along. The village chief nervously explains that she got caught up with something important today. He tries to play it cool but knows no grandparent would ever miss their grandson's first fight. One of the old ladies then says that thanks to his success they got to watch a big show. She then points to Minji, explaining that the agent guided them all the way from the village. The young fighter is completely surprised and quickly turns to thank the kind agent for her help. Waving her hand, she just says it was nothing since it is natural for them to care for his family. But he insists that he is really grateful for her kindness while Seo-yun just stares blankly. His teammate thinks he is just grinning like that because he is talking to a very pretty girl. Getting flustered, our protagonist then says he needs to get ready for his master's big fight. He then tells his grandparents that they should all go inside and watch the main event as well. They say they only came for his match, but he yells at them about how expensive the tickets are. The village chief looks at a poster and wonders if the champion is really as good as they say. Suddenly the young fighter sees someone approaching and happily yells out a quick greeting. It is his master Seo-jun, who smiles and says that he really enjoyed watching the entire fight. The elders are completely shocked and ask if this is really the famous world boxing champion. Then the village chief suddenly recognizes him as the porter who carried all their bags before. The professional boxer just smiles and calmly confirms that his name is indeed Seo-jun. The old man is completely mortified, realizing his huge slip of the tongue. Ignoring the awkwardness, the champion congratulates his student on the impressive win. With a confident smirk, he then says that since his disciple won, the master must also set an example. He then tells the young fighter to watch closely and learn as he walks towards the arena. As he watches his master leave, a powerful memory suddenly flashes through the boy's mind. The young fighter then follows his master down the long hallway with all of the village elders. The champion then plants his foot firmly on the ground, making it feel like an earthquake just struck. Looking up in pure shock, the young boxer feels the entire stadium begin to shake violently. The entire audience erupts into a deafening roar as they cheer for the world champion. The roar of tens of thousands of fans echoes loudly throughout the entire massive arena. In the middle of all the chaos, the professional boxer just walks forward with a calm expression. A close-up reveals the champion's intense focus as he gets ready for his own big fight. In the ring, the champion Seo-jun stares down his opponent, a tough-looking man with white hair. The challenger Damon Carter glares back at him, thinking about their last humiliating defeat. With a loud stomp on the mat, Carter shows that he is completely ready for this rematch. But the entire crowd in the arena just continues to chant the champion's name loudly. Tens of thousands of fans are screaming their unwavering support for their favorite fighter. Seeing this display, Carter says it must be nice to have so many people cheering him on. He adds that it is nice to have so many people who would cry for him if he lost a fight. But the champion just scoffs and asks if he came here to fight with words instead of fists. Getting annoyed, he then yells at his opponent to just go home if that is the case. This comment clearly angers the challenger as a vein pops on his forehead in pure rage. The referee then yells at both of the fighters to get back to their corners immediately. In their corners, both of the men glare at each other with intense focus for the match. A close-up on the champion's face reveals his unwavering and focused expression. The challenger's red eyes burn with pure rage as he gets ready for the fight to begin. As the bell rings, Carter lunges forward with incredible speed to start the match. He unleashes a powerful punch, but the champion just smoothly ducks right underneath it. With a confident smirk, the professional fighter calmly asks his opponent what the rush is. With some incredibly quick and agile footwork, he starts to create some distance. The two fighters then get locked in a fierce and high-speed exchange of powerful blows. It is a complete blur of motion as they both trade a non-stop flurry of fast punches. The entire arena watches in awe as the intense back-and-forth battle continues. The champion then throws a lightning-fast straight jab to keep his opponent at bay. Both of the men use a combination of quick footwork and powerful punches to gain an edge. With perfect timing, the professional fighter lands a clean and solid punch on his opponent. The challenger's eyes go wide with pure shock as he takes the full force of the blow. The announcer declares that the incredible back-and-forth exchange lasted only 3 seconds. From the audience, our protagonist and his coach watch on with completely stunned expressions. The young fighter is amazed by the level of a title fight, wondering how many punches were thrown. Back in the ring, both of the fighters suddenly flinch at the exact same moment. The old coach explains that they both just reacted to each other's well-timed feints. The young fighter explains that at this level it is a battle of minds, not just pure strength. With a bruised eye, the boy can only watch the intense match with a look of pure amazement. Meanwhile, the village chief worries about Gang Chan's swollen face from his earlier fight. Back in the ring, Carter unleashes his signature lightning-fast lead hand to start his assault. But the champion smoothly slips right under the attack with a perfectly timed right hand. He then twists his body and raises his guard to block the challenger's follow-up punch. The impact is so incredibly powerful that it completely blows his entire guard away. Carter's eyes go wide with pure shock at the sheer force behind his opponent's block. But the professional fighter just looks on with a completely calm and unfazed expression. The two men are now locked in a furious close-range exchange of powerful punches. With gritted teeth, the challenger struggles to endure the champion's relentless assault. The professional boxer then lands a clean and powerful punch right on his opponent's face. Before the man can even react, another blue glove comes flying straight towards his head. Seo Jun then follows up with a devastating body shot that lands squarely on Carter's side. A pained groan escapes Carter's lips as he looks up from the incredibly brutal hit. The announcer screams that Carter is down from the champion's powerful counter-punch. With his eyes rolled back, the challenger struggles on the mat as the official count begins. But the professional fighter just looks on with a calm expression as the count continues. The referee keeps counting while the champion calmly walks back to his neutral corner. But just as the count reaches 7, Carter somehow manages to get back on his feet. The announcer yells that the challenger is back up and will not go down that easily. The referee asks if he can continue, and with a determined look, Carter says of course. With a quick signal from the official, the intense and brutal fight is back on again. The champion just looks at his opponent with a slightly surprised expression on his face. He then thinks to himself that his opponent has a lot of spirit, but it is not enough. As Carter rushes in recklessly, the champion smoothly slips right under the wild punch. He thinks there is no way he would take such a reckless punch from him head-on. Watching from the side, Gang Chan wonders how his master landed a counter without a set stance. His coach explains that it is because he slipped and attacked at the exact same time. The young fighter is stunned, realizing the skill needed to handle such unorthodox situations. He thinks to himself that this is what it truly means to be a champion at the top of the world. With a confident look, the professional fighter then tells his downed opponent to get back up. He then adds with a smirk that ending the match in the very first round would be boring. On the mat, the challenger is completely dazed from that powerful and well-timed counter. Gang Chan is still stunned by his master's incredible ability to handle unorthodox situations. The champion knows a real fighter must be prepared for absolutely anything inside the ring. With a smile, he tells the man to get up since a first-round finish would just be lame. The challenger just lies on the canvas, completely unable to move from the devastating attack. From his corner, Carter's coach screams at him to get up before the first round is over. With gritted teeth, the downed man struggles with all his might, trying to push himself up. But his body completely gives out and he just collapses back onto the hard mat once again. Seeing this, the champion is left speechless by his opponent's incredible will to keep fighting. Even the referee looks on with a worried expression, wondering if the fighter is actually okay. But a fire of pure determination still burns in Carter's eyes as he refuses to just give up. With a final burst of pure strength, he manages to push himself up onto his knees. With a determined look, the challenger grits his teeth, refusing to give up the fight. He then plants his foot firmly on the mat, showing his incredible and unyielding resolve. The announcer screams that Carter is back on his feet, even though he looks very unsteady. Just then the bell rings loudly, signaling the official end of the intense first round. In his corner, the champion's coach tells him to keep the pressure on in the next round. Meanwhile, Carter's corner desperately tries to help their fighter recover from the damage. But the challenger's hands are shaking so much he can barely hold his water bottle. The bottle then slips from his grasp and falls onto the floor of the boxing ring. With a pained look, he realizes that his body is completely drained of all its strength. He wonders if he took too much damage, as he cannot put any power into his punches now. From across the ring, the champion just calmly watches his opponent's struggles. A slight and confident smirk then appears on his face as he observes the situation. Carter gets a shocked look as he realizes the champion saw his hands shaking. The referee then yells for the seconds to get out as the next round is about to begin. His coach tells him to hang on a bit longer and the champion says yeah with a confident look. As the second round begins, the challenger gets into his stance looking very weary. He knows there is no way he can last 12 rounds since his legs are shaking so badly. With no other options left, he decides to just keep throwing punches hoping for a miracle. The two fighters immediately start trading blows in the center of the ring once again. But the champion easily gets inside and lands another devastating shot to Carter's body. The powerful impact makes the challenger groan in absolute agony from the intense pain. Desperate for a break, he then tries to use a clinch to buy himself some time to recover. But the champion easily shoves him off with a powerful push from his shoulder. This unexpected move sends the challenger stumbling backward, completely off balance. Seeing a perfect opening, the professional fighter gets ready to end the match for good. He then unleashes a non-stop flurry of brutal punches right into Carter's body. Watching from the side, Gang Chan is amazed by his master's incredible speed and timing. The champion's fist clenches as he prepares to deliver the final blow of the fight. With his opponent down for the third time, Seo Jun raises his hand, certain of his victory. The entire crowd then erupts into a massive cheer, calling the champion Korea's hero. Lying on the mat, Carter looks up completely dazed and confused by what just happened. He wonders why he is staring at the ceiling and does not even know where he is. A memory of the shiny green and gold championship belt suddenly flashes in his mind. Suddenly he remembers the one thing that he has been fighting for this entire time. With a new fire in his eyes, he realizes that the championship belt is on the line. The champion looks on with a completely surprised expression on his face. Because somehow the challenger is using the ropes to pull himself back onto his feet. Watching from the side, Gang Chan wonders how the man can stand after that much damage. But the old coach just looks on with a serious expression and says it is not hard to see. He explains that the challenger is just one single step away from his ultimate dream. The champion just looks at him in disbelief, wondering if he is some kind of toy. With a loud stomp on the mat, the professional fighter gets ready to finish this for good. With a determined look, he gets into his fighting stance, ready for the final exchange. He then admits that he will give his opponent credit for his incredible willpower. The challenger then says that he will also give the champion one last chance to fight him. He then says that for the folks back home, he is going to make this a very good show. In the center of the ring, the two fighters get ready for their final all-out exchange. From the side of the ring, the young fighter and his coach watch with great anticipation. The champion then declares that he will not take a single step backward from this point on. Hearing this bold declaration, the challenger just looks on with a completely stunned expression. The old coach calls his former student an idiot, wondering why he is being so reckless. With a frustrated sigh, he then says that this is one of the champion's old bad habits. He explains the professional fighter cannot stand seeing Korean boxing being looked down on. The old man adds that the champion sees himself as the symbol of Korean boxing itself. So with this showmanship, the champion is showing the entire world his true strength. With a confident smirk, the pro is ready to show everyone his unique style of boxing. His young student is left completely speechless by his master's incredible conviction. But the challenger knows that at this point his only shot is landing one lucky punch. With nothing left to lose, he accepts the challenge since there is no reason not to take it. So with a determined look, he decides to pour everything he has into this final exchange. Surrounded by a red aura of pure determination, he screams he will do this even if it costs him his life. The announcer screams in excitement as both of the fighters plant their feet firmly on the mat. With a final roar, the two boxers then charge forward and are about to collide in a massive exchange. The two fighters plant their feet firmly on the mat, getting ready for the final exchange. With an explosive sound, their fists then collide in a powerful clash of pure will. The challenger grits his teeth, enduring a devastating punch straight to his face. But the champion just smirks confidently as if he did not feel a single thing. Watching from the side, our protagonist swallows nervously at the brutal exchange. With a final burst of pure rage, Carter then unleashes his own powerful counter. A solid punch then lands squarely on the side of the professional boxer's head. The powerful impact echoes loudly throughout the entire and massive arena. Both fighters continue to trade heavy blows without a single sign of backing down. The two men exchange powerful hits in a desperate and final all-out brawl. Carter looks on with a confused expression and wonders why this is happening. But the champion's relentless assault continues as another punch lands squarely. With a look of pure shock, the challenger's eyes roll back into his head. He is completely stunned because he was so sure that he could win this exchange. But he then realizes that the champion is the true and undisputed king of this ring. He roars that he was the true king of this ring, but he was completely mistaken. Because a massive dragon appears before him representing the champion's true power. With a pained look on his face, the challenger now knows that he has been defeated. He then screams in pure desperation, asking what kind of monster his opponent truly is. The professional fighter just calmly states that he is the one and only true champ. Carter's dream of the belt is shattered as a final punch comes flying straight at him. A close-up of the glove shows the incredible speed and power behind the final attack. The challenger can only watch in horror as the white blur approaches his face. His eyes go wide with pure shock as he braces for the inevitable final blow. From his point of view, the champion looks like a god delivering a final judgment. A single powerful hook then sends the challenger flying backward into the air. With a loud thud, Carter crashes hard onto the canvas, completely knocked out cold. The professional fighter just looks down at his opponent with a calm expression. In the crowd, our protagonist and his friends are stunned by the finishing blow. The entire arena then erupts into a massive cheer as the champion defends his title. After the fight, Carter's coach screams for a stretcher while the champion just looks on calmly. The coach then confronts Seo Jun, who tells him that he is not fit to be a second at all. He scolds the man for not throwing in the towel to protect his fighter's career from further damage. Hearing this, the defeated coach just turns away with a look of pure shame on his face. With a frustrated expression, he grits his teeth and silently curses under his breath. The man then admits to himself that he was the one who wanted to give up the most. He explains that Carter threatened him hundreds of times, showing his intense resolve. Back in the ring, the champion then starts to make his way out of the arena. With his belt on, he raises his hand in victory as the entire crowd chants his name. In the crowd, the old coach says it was a great learning experience and mentions a dinner. He then turns around to talk about the match with his young and promising student. But with a confused look, the old man wonders where the boy could have gone all of a sudden. Meanwhile, the champion is walking down a long hallway with two of his bodyguards. But then he suddenly stops and turns around as someone calls out the name Master. At the end of the hall, he sees his student Gang Chan standing there and looking right at him. With a deep bow, the young fighter congratulates his master on the amazing victory. He excitedly yells that the match was incredible and even more thrilling than his own. Laughing it off, the champion says his student is exaggerating and making him blush. The kid then praises his teacher for not taking a single hit from such a strong opponent. With a confident grin, the professional boasts that his body is #1 in the world. Hearing this bold statement, the young boxer hesitates for just a single moment. He then declares with passion that one day he wants to face his master inside the ring. This sudden and unexpected declaration leaves the professional fighter completely stunned. But with a huge laugh, he accepts the challenge, telling his student to work hard for it. He then reminds the boy he is 2 weight classes above him and needs to bulk up first. Waving goodbye, the champion says that is something he can take his sweet time with. The pro then tells his student that he will see him later at the victory dinner party. As his master walks away, the young fighter just looks on with a dazed expression. He then gets completely confused as the word dinner echoes inside his own head. Later that night, everyone raises their glasses for a huge toast at the celebration party. At the party, everyone enjoys a huge victory feast as the champion celebrates loudly. With a dazed look, the young fighter thinks about how everyone is having dinner together. A man with glasses then congratulates both of them for their incredible victories. The champion then excitedly tells everyone at the table what his student said to him earlier. He loudly repeats the boy's bold declaration about wanting to face him in the ring one day. The agency man laughs, saying he loves how young people have the guts to declare their dreams. Completely embarrassed, the young fighter begs them to stop as laughter fills the entire restaurant. The man with glasses says sorry to bring up work but wants to discuss his next fight now. He explains the boy got a lot of attention but his next match will not be so easy. Hearing this, the coach thinks that the size of the audience will be a huge difference. The agency guy says after many talks within the company they finally found something good. With a confused look, the young fighter wonders what this good thing could possibly be. The man with glasses just stares back at him with a very serious expression on his face. He then reveals their big plan for the young boxer is a Korea versus Japan match. With a worried look, the old coach asks the man if this decision is really alright. The old man then tells his student that they can just go over all the details later. He then announces to Gang Chan that he is getting a much-needed 1-week break. The agent agrees, saying he earned it and should enjoy his first ever fight money. Suddenly the young fighter remembers that his grandmother's birthday is coming up very soon. He then turns to Seo Yun and asks if she can go shopping with him since he has never gone before. Completely flustered, she screams, asking why he would ask that in front of everyone. The others at the table then start to tease him for asking her out on a date so publicly. The young fighter looks completely embarrassed and wonders if he said something wrong. But his master just laughs it off and says that is just how young people are. The story then jumps forward to the very next day after the big celebration party. We then see our protagonist at a department store with Seo Yun for the very first time. And so the two young fighters then begin their very first date together. He immediately tells her that she looks very pretty, which makes her get super flustered. She then nervously shows him a pink scarf and asks if it would be a good gift for his grandma. Completely clueless, he just asks her what that pink piece of cloth could possibly be. But he is completely shocked to see the price tag says 300,000 won. He then points out a different scarf that costs only 30,000 won and looks much warmer. Hearing his very practical suggestion, Seo Yun just looks at him completely unimpressed. The young man then excitedly points out a huge coat that looks incredibly warm to him. But the price tag on that jacket is a whopping 3 million won, which is even more expensive. Seeing the insane price tag, both of the young fighters quickly turn away in complete shock. Suddenly he hears a strange clinking sound which immediately gets his full attention. He then sees a bunch of flashing lights coming from some kind of arcade machines. The young fighter excitedly points out all the sparkling things to his teammate. With a smile, she asks if he wants to check it out, thinking it feels like she is taking his son out for the day. Inside the arcade, he is completely amazed by all of the different games around him. He then notices a machine that looks like something he would find in a boxing gym. She tells him to try the punching machine and he says he will show them a boxer's pride. With a confused look, he then starts searching for the coin slot on the arcade machine. He then takes something out of his pocket, getting ready to insert it into the machine. But instead of coins, he pulls out a massive and incredibly thick stack of cash. Seeing this, Seo Yun just looks on with a completely and utterly shocked expression. She yells, asking if he is seriously carrying a huge stack of cash around with him. His teammate asks why he has 500,000 won and he says he does not trust banks. But unknown to them, a mysterious man in a black cap is watching them from the background. In the end, his teammate just ends up paying for the arcade game with her own card. She then tells him to just hit the punching bag as soon as it comes down from the machine. Later at an arcade, Seo Yun notices some guys watching them at a punching machine. Gang Chan just assumes they are looking because he is in pretty good shape. He then gets into his fighting stance and raises his shoulder, preparing to strike. With a focused look in his eye, Seo Yun gets super excited and yells for him to go. The two guys watching them are completely shocked by what is happening now. Instead of one hit, he unleashes a rapid flurry of punches right on the machine. This completely blows the onlookers away, as one of them even spits out his drink. Seo Yun then gets mad and yells at him for being an idiot since he should have hit it once. Confused, he says that is how they do it at the gym and asks why his score is so low. Embarrassed, she calls him a dummy and starts dragging him away as he protests. A close-up then shows her holding his hand very tightly as she pulls him along. The young fighter then looks down at their joined hands with a surprised expression. She keeps running but then suddenly stops and looks back with a very confused look. She then screams, asking why he is grabbing her hand while he just looks confused. Back at the gym, he takes a brutal body shot from a sparring partner and winces in pain. Blushing, Seo Yun asks who told him to get hit in the first place while a cold pack is held to her cheek. Her eyes then suddenly go wide with pure shock as she realizes something is terribly wrong. In the crowd, a shady man in black quickly shoves a stolen wallet into his own pocket. The two then yell that a pickpocket is getting away as the thief realizes he has been caught. But with a sinister grin, the man thinks it is already too late since he has a huge head start. Suddenly Seo Yun catches up and threatens him to hand it over unless he wants to get hurt. Our protagonist also arrives and politely asks for the important money back while clutching his stomach. The criminal gets annoyed wondering why the kid is being so polite to a thief like him. He then screams that these two people are completely crazy as police sirens start to wail nearby. A police officer then arrests the pickpocket while the two young fighters watch with their arms crossed. The young man then says Seoul is a scary place as Seo-yoon tells him to just get a debit card. She then reminds him that they still have not picked out the main gift for his grandmother. Thinking about what to get, the young fighter suddenly rejects a random idea out loud. With a huge smile he then announces that he has the perfect idea for his grandma's present. A close-up then reveals the gift he chose costs a whopping 200,000 won. Sometime later Gang Chan proudly balances a huge blanket on his head, presenting it as a gift for his grandma. Seo-yoon is shocked, asking how he can balance something so heavy while he says it is a countryside skill. She then asks why he bought a blanket and he explains his grandmother's old one is completely worn out. With a warm smile he says he wanted her to sleep warm even when he is not there to visit her. Hearing his incredibly thoughtful reason, the girl is left completely speechless and starts to blush. She then says it is a great gift that suits him perfectly and he just asks if she really thinks so. With a small wink the young fighter then thinks to himself that she looks really pretty when she smiles. His teammate then asks how they will get the gift to the village and he just yells they can use a courier. The story then cuts to the young fighter visiting his village and calling out for his grandmother. Inside he begs his grandma to look at him since he traveled all the way from Seoul just to see her. But the old woman just ignores him and stays completely silent under her new warm covers. With a sad look he thinks about the gift he brought, but she still will not even face him. Giving up for now he lets out a tired sigh and announces that her grandson will be leaving. From the doorway he takes one last look back at her before he finally starts to head out. As he walks away a single tear rolls down the old woman's face while she pretends to be asleep. She then begins to cry quietly into her pillow so that he will not hear her at all. Outside the village chief asks if he is leaving and the boy cheerfully says he has to train in Seoul. The old man looks worried and asks him to at least eat something before he makes the long trip. But the young man waves it off, saying he needs to cut weight and the food there is too delicious. He then tells the elder not to walk him too far as he prepares to finally leave the village. The village chief can only watch with a sad expression as the young fighter walks away from him. Back inside the old man tells her she should have at least made him some food before he had to leave. But she tearfully explains that if she saw his bruised face she would just start to cry. Back in the village his grandmother cries, thinking she is a bad grandparent for not being there. The village chief can only look on with a sad and guilty expression on his face. 1 month before his next match, articles start focusing on his opponent being Japanese. He also got a lot of recognition after being the opening act for his master's last event. Since both fighters share the name The Smiling Boxer, the match gets a ton of attention. The footage shows both boxers even wear similar green and yellow boxing shoes. His opponent seems to have a similar build, but Gang Chan looks way more serious. Back at the gym the coach shows his student footage of his opponent named Yamamoto Ruji. The video shows Yamamoto easily landing a powerful and well-timed punch on the other fighter. He then suddenly strikes a strange pose in the middle of the fight and lets out a loud yell. On the screen they pause the video at the moment of the flamboyant and weird pose. Gang Chan is completely shocked and asks if that move is even allowed during a real match. His coach explains that as long as the referee does not step in it is completely fine. But the young fighter just thinks it is interesting and that his opponent looks very free. Watching the footage again he then says that it looks like the other man is actually dancing. At the gym the young fighter cheerfully tells his coach that he is going out for a run. But as he heads out two of his teammates stop him, saying they saw an article about his next fight. One guy is surprised he is fighting again so soon while the other mutters he should have lost his debut. His teammate then asks if he is okay with the fact that his opponent is from Japan. The jealous boxer then laughs maniacally and says that the kid should be super stressed out. This whole conversation just leaves our protagonist completely and utterly confused by their words. The scene then transitions to a beautiful and bright day outside as the boy begins his training. With determined steps he starts his long run along the riverside path to build his stamina. He continues his road work all alone under a bridge with a very serious look on his face. While running the young man wonders what his teammates meant by him being stressed out. Suddenly a man's voice calls out from behind and asks if he is the boxer Gang Chan. Two older men recognize him as the one who fought in the champion's opening match. One of the guys excitedly says he loved the fiery fight and wishes he was 20 years younger. With a big smile, the young fighter happily thanks them for all of their kind words. The old man then adds that since it is Korea versus Japan, he has to win the match right. He then passionately yells that you cannot even lose a game of rock paper scissors to Japan. The scene then transitions to show our protagonist continuing his run through the city. While jogging down the street, some students suddenly notice him and yell out in surprise. Overjoyed, they scream his name, and one of them even calls it completely insane. The young fans then eagerly ask him for a photo and an autograph from the rising star. One of the boys tells him to beat the Japanese fighter and that he will definitely be watching. Hearing this request, the young boxer just looks on with a confused and troubled expression. Suddenly his old flip phone starts ringing loudly, startling the young fighter a bit. On the other end of the line, the village elders excitedly yell out his name to greet him. They scream that they saw the news about the Japan match and that he absolutely cannot lose. The village chief yells for him to show them Korea's fighting spirit and that they will be cheering. Even with all the yelling, the young fighter just listens with a huge and happy smile on his face. He then tells them he is with his fans and promises to call them back a little bit later. Apologizing to the students, he explains the call was from his family and they get ready for the photo. With a big smile, the boxer poses for a picture with his fans, making a fighting gesture. As the excited fans run off, they yell for him to show them Korea's fighting spirit. The young boxer just watches them leave with a very thoughtful expression on his face. Later, inside a hot sauna, a single drop of sweat falls onto the hot wooden floor. The young man sits there completely drained and wonders what this strange feeling is. He feels a tightness in his chest and wonders if the tough weight cut is finally getting to him. The boy admits he was nervous for his debut, but this feeling is completely different now. He is grateful for everyone's support but wonders why it all feels so heavy on him. He remembers how his opponent looked so carefree and light on his feet during his matches. But in contrast, his own heart feels incredibly heavy with all of the immense pressure. 1 month later, the day of the big Korea vs Japan match finally arrives. In the crowd, the fans are already screaming that he absolutely cannot lose this fight. One of his supporters passionately yells that they are all fighting together with him. In the ring, the young boxer looks calm and plants his foot firmly on the canvas. A look of pure and unwavering determination then appears in the young fighter's eye. Across the ring, his opponent Yamamoto Ruji just stares back with an intense gaze. A close-up reveals his opponent's incredibly serious and intense expression before the match. The young fighter gets confused, wondering if his opponent always carried such a serious vibe. From the sidelines, Seo-yun and the coach watch the fight with very worried looks on their faces. Back in the ring, both of the fighters are just exchanging some very stiff and cautious jabs. The Japanese fighter then easily manages to block the very predictable punch with his green glove. The two young boxers then quickly return to a very tense standoff in the middle of the ring. An announcer then wonders out loud why both of the fighters look so stiff and not in their usual form. From the crowd, a very passionate fan screams that this is not the young boy's real level of skill. The announcer then adds that the entire crowd can feel that something is seriously off with both boxers. The commentary team also notes how different Yamamoto looks compared to all of his previous fights. Our protagonist thinks to himself that his opponent is weird and nothing like the footage he saw. He remembers the other fighter being much more nimble and wonders why they are both so tight. The young fighter then feels his entire body getting incredibly heavy from all of the immense pressure. From his corner, the old coach screams at his student that he is way too tense and needs to relax. Seo-yun worriedly asks the old man what is wrong since the boy looks so incredibly heavy. The coach thinks to himself this is why he hates putting rookies in big national matches so early on. With a very serious look, the old man knows that it is the young fighter's heart that is truly heavy. The coach explains no matter how tough a rookie is, the pressure of a national match is immense. He feels the weight of the crowd's cheers not as support but as a heavy burden on his shoulders. Seo-yun anxiously wonders if there is anything she can possibly do to help him during the next break. She desperately tries to think of the right words that will help him finally loosen up in the ring. With a loud ring from the bell, the very tense first round finally comes to a complete end. The announcer notes the round ended with no clean hits as the coach tends to his tired student. In the other corner, Yamamoto also gets a serious talking to from his own coach during the break. The young fighter admits it feels strange and that he is not even in control of his own body. With a frustrated look he realizes he could not use any of the techniques he had drilled. Just as his coach tells him to breathe, his teammate Seo-yun suddenly rushes over and yells his name. She angrily asks who he thinks he is to carry the weight of the entire country on his back. She yells he is nothing like his usual self and he mumbles about being too nervous to move. Then a strange cartoonish image of someone pinching his cheeks into a smile suddenly appears. She asks if he has even smiled once since he always grins even during his sparring matches. A memory of him looking completely blank after a tough sparring session then flashes in his mind. She passionately screams for him to just do his boxing like he always does without any pressure. She then tells him to just focus on the people he truly wants to protect, not random strangers. Her powerful and unexpected words leave the young fighter completely speechless and stunned. Realizing what she did, she quickly apologizes to the coach for interrupting his tactics. But the old man just smiles and tells her that her advice was actually very good for the boy. A small smile appears on his face as he realizes she is right about all that extra weight. He then looks at his opponent and thinks that he is probably feeling the exact same way. The young fighter then declares to himself that he does not want this to be a boring fight. Clenching his fists, he tells himself to just fight like he usually does in the gym. With a new resolve, he then forces a huge smile, declaring that they are universal. This sudden and cheerful expression just leaves the Japanese fighter completely confused. But then his opponent suddenly breaks into a huge and confident grin of his own. With a new understanding, the two fighters then touch their gloves in the middle of the ring. The announcer then screams that the second round of the match has officially begun. His opponent then starts moving with some incredibly quick and agile footwork. Yamamoto immediately lunges forward and unleashes a lightning-fast punch with incredible speed. Our protagonist is completely stunned by how fast his opponent is now moving in the ring. With a new fire in his eyes, he knows that it is finally time to start fighting back for real. Wasting no time at all, he immediately unleashes his own powerful counterpunch at his opponent. He thinks to himself that the other fighter's balance is now completely shaky after that big lean. With a confident look, he believes there is no way the Japanese fighter can dodge this next attack. But with some incredible flexibility, his opponent somehow manages to dodge the powerful blow. The young fighter is completely shocked, wondering how the other man's body is so flexible. Shaking it off, he knows this is not the right time to just admire his opponent's unique skills. The Japanese boxer then decides this is the perfect moment to press his advantage and attack. The two young fighters then get locked in a fierce and non-stop exchange of powerful punches. The entire crowd in the arena then goes completely wild at this incredibly fierce exchange. An announcer notes both boxers are much looser, while our hero thinks his foe is also very quick. With some very graceful movements, the other fighter is now finding his own unique rhythm. It almost looks like the Japanese boxer is dancing around the ring with his fluid motions. A powerful green glove then smashes squarely into our protagonist's face with incredible force. With an annoyed look, he realizes he is getting completely caught up in watching his opponent dance. But with a confident smirk, the Japanese fighter knows he is now in complete control of the match. He then unleashes another lightning-fast punch that flies straight towards the young man's head. With some incredibly fluid movements, it almost looks like he is creating afterimages in the ring. His footwork is so incredibly quick and light that he almost seems to be floating on the canvas. Another powerful punch then connects solidly with our protagonist's raised red glove. Yamamoto thinks to himself that he has finally found his rhythm and is now in his own flow. But then he suddenly gets a very confused and surprised look on his face for some reason. Because our protagonist is now also bouncing lightly on the balls of his feet with a new rhythm. With a huge smile on his face, the young fighter is now completely enjoying this dance-like fight. He excitedly declares that now he can finally start showing off all the things he has learned. This sudden and cheerful change just leaves the Japanese fighter completely and utterly baffled. 2 months ago, the young fighter starts a new phase by putting on some big black headphones. His old coach explains that every single workout from now on will happen with loud music playing. Smiling brightly, the girl says the playlist goes from classical to hip-hop and he better be grateful. Looking very serious, the gray-haired man adds that there is one more thing they need to discuss. Because a new routine starts today, so he must be ready to arrive at the building every morning at 9. High-volume sound begins to boom from the massive speakers while the boy prepares for the next task. Inside a large room, we see a group of people practicing their punches while following a rhythmic beat. Everyone is shouting numbers like 1 and 2 while trying their absolute best to stay perfectly in sync. The female instructor yells at the class to keep their guards up and maintain high tension at all times. Wiping away sweat, the young man thinks this is much harder than it looks, but the teacher is pretty cute. A full month passes by quickly and the scene shifts to the outside of the famous training center once again. The master orders his assistant to start the track as she gives a cheerful reply and heads to the desk. Pushing a button on the keyboard, she prepares to unleash the sound for the next intense session. Holding the mitts, the old man tells his student to punch along with the melody, starting with a slow tempo. Moving his red boxing shoes, the talented rookie begins to dance in perfect rhythm with the music. In the ring, the young fighter finds his groove while music notes float around him in the background. He throws a sharp punch with incredible speed as he starts to dance around his confused opponent. Watching from the sidelines, the old coach observes every single move his student makes during the session. With a loud shout, the mentor tells him to switch his speed to fast as the tempo begins to rise. A close-up of his eye reveals his intense focus while the speaker pumps out a steady beat for the workout. Multiple afterimages appear as the boy unleashes a barrage of rapid-fire hits that look like a total blur. The old man smiles because he can see that the rookie is finally starting to control the tempo of the fight. He explains that swinging blindly isn't the key, so he must vary the power behind every single strike. The veteran warns that the Japanese opponent is a master of rhythm control, so the boy must stay very sharp. Back to hitting the mitts, the young man practices his timing with a look of pure determination on his face. Clenching his teeth, he tries to feel the music as he prepares for the most important match of his career. A flashback shows the opponent Ruji has a very fixed rhythm that looks free but follows a strict pattern. The coach demands that their top priority is to break that music before the other guy can start dancing. Across the ring, the rival smiles, feeling much more relaxed thanks to the cheerful vibe of our protagonist. With a serious glare, the Japanese fighter declares that only one of them will be laughing by the end of the night. The protagonist ducks with lightning speed while the Japanese boxer throws a massive straight punch at his head. Yamamoto smiles confidently as he prepares to unleash his own hidden trap on the young rookie fighter. Our hero immediately dives in and lands a brutal body shot that echoes throughout the entire arena. The rival thinks he has caught the boy in a trap, but his eyes go wide as things do not go as planned. Looking completely surprised, the young boxer realizes he might have walked right into a dangerous situation. A sudden explosive sound fills the air while the champion's student struggles to understand what just happened. Speeding across the ring, the Japanese fighter shows off his incredible and fluid movement to the crowd. Yamamoto lunges forward with a fast jab while the rookie keeps his focus on every single small detail. The opponent gets confused, asking himself why the boy is reacting in such a strange way during the match. Wondering why the rookie did not move in closer, the rival starts to feel very uneasy about the situation. With a powerful motion, the protagonist lands a clean hit directly on the face of the surprised Japanese fighter. Stunned by the impact, the rival realizes that the young boxer was actually 2 moves ahead of his own plan. Stomping his foot firmly on the canvas, the opponent decides that he cannot give up on this fight just yet. Screaming that he cannot just sit there, the Japanese boxer rushes forward with everything he has left. With a look of pure rage, he throws a desperate punch, hoping to turn the tide of this intense battle. Ruji uses his falling momentum to land a pinpoint liver shot right on the protagonist's side. Smirking at his success, the Japanese fighter thinks he has finally taken full control of this match. But the young man surprises everyone by landing a heavy counter punch despite the sudden pain. His opponent is completely shocked and wonders how the boy could still move after taking that hit. Gritting his teeth, the hero admits it hurts like crazy but knows he cannot stop moving now. With a fiery look in his eye, he tells himself that he must never let the flow be stolen. The 2 boxers then engage in a fierce exchange of blows as they both search for an opening. Applying more pressure, the young fighter lands another solid hit that rattles his opponent's head. He follows up with a massive punch that smashes squarely into the other man's surprised face. From the sidelines, Seo-yun yells to the coach that the momentum has completely shifted to their side. The old man notes that if his student stays half a beat faster, he should win without trouble. However, the coach's expression turns serious as he senses that something else is about to happen. Ruji is now backed up against the ropes and the announcer screams that this is the boy's big chance. Unleashing all of his power, the young fighter throws a heavy red punch to finish the fight. But with incredibly quick movements, his opponent tries to slip away as the tension reaches its peak. Trapped in the corner, Ruji manages to slip every single one of those fast attacks from the young fighter. Moving with incredible speed, the Japanese boxer avoids so many shots that the entire crowd is left speechless. Pressing his back against the blue ropes, he prepares a secret move while the tension of the match keeps building. Using the elastic ropes to bounce back, Ruji delivers a devastating punch straight to the unsuspecting boy's face. With his eyes wide open, our protagonist realizes that move almost ended the whole fight right there and then. Crashing onto the hard canvas, the young man falls down while the sound of the impact echoes throughout the arena. Looking up in total disbelief, the fallen fighter wonders how he could have missed such a powerful counterattack. Vibrate wildly as the thick ropes absorb the massive impact of the rival's sudden and calculated movement. Delivering a lightning-fast strike, Ruji uses the momentum of the rebound to catch his opponent off guard with a hit. Trembling with fear, the rookie realizes he was just one tiny mistake away from losing his conscious state. Landing hard on the ground, the boy feels the wind get knocked out of him while the referee moves in to check. Staring into space, he tries to regain his focus, although his head is still ringing from that devastating counter. Watching from the stands, Huang is completely shocked to see the promising prodigy finally go down. Stepping in quickly, the referee begins the official count, yelling 1 while pointing at the downed fighter. Shouting at the top of his lungs, the official then counts 2 as everyone wonders if the kid can even get back up. Looking worried, the old coach screams for the boy to wake up and snap out of it immediately. Staggering back to his feet, the young boxer yells that he can still fight while clenching his red gloves. Watching closely, the referee thinks the kid looks steady enough to keep going with the intense match. Signaling with his hands, the official yells for them to box as the fierce battle finally continues. Amidst the tension, the young man tries to find his rhythm again while sweat drips down his face. Suddenly, a green glove blurs through the air as the Japanese fighter launches a lightning-fast attack. Taking a hard blow, the protagonist feels the power of the hit while struggling to keep his guard up. While focusing his gaze, the boy realizes he cannot afford to take any more damage in this round. Noticing the kid is getting tired, the rival smirks while thinking his reactions are finally slowing down. Quickly pushing forward, the young fighter throws a long straight punch to catch his foe off guard. But the opponent counters with a heavy hit that makes our hero groan from the sudden and painful impact. Realizing his limit, the boy tells himself he must throw his hands if he wants to win this fight. In a flash, both fighters unleash their best shots as their gloves blur through the ring. Smashing through the defense, the protagonist lands a solid blow that echoes loudly across the entire arena. Sliding his feet, the young boxer tries to adjust his position after that incredibly brutal exchange. Looking very tired, our protagonist breathes heavily while sweat drips down his focused face. Moving his feet quickly, he tries to find a better position on the dark canvas of the ring. From the corner, the old coach screams that he is not the only one feeling exhausted right now. He points out that the Japanese fighter has also taken a ton of damage during this round. The young man gets a shocked look as he finally realizes his chance to win has arrived. Thinking to himself, he notes that his opponent has slowed down enough for a final attack. With a serious expression, he decides that trying to run away is no longer an option for him. Raising his red gloves to his chin, he prepares to use the legendary peekaboo fighting style. Watching from the side, his teammate is shocked and asks if he can actually pull that off. The coach explains his strong neck muscles from the village will help him absorb heavy hits. He yells that the new plan is to take 1 punch just so he can give back 2 in return. Diving into the action, the young boxer ducks under a fast strike with some agile movement. His opponent looks on with a surprised face as the distance between them suddenly disappears. With an intense gaze, the old master thinks that once he gets close, he cannot hesitate at all. Unleashing his full power, the young fighter throws a massive hook from his new defensive stance. Yamamoto throws a lightning-fast punch while the young fighter prepares to dodge the incoming attack. Looking over his green gloves, the Japanese boxer keeps a tight guard while trying to find any weakness in the defense. The opponent is completely shocked as he realizes there is absolutely no opening for him to land a clean hit. Our protagonist then unleashes a non-stop flurry of powerful blows that push the other fighter back with every impact. Yamamoto keeps his eyes fixed on the target as he waits for the perfect moment to strike back with all his power. A massive red glove smashes squarely into the opponent's face while a loud sound of impact echoes through the arena. Stunned by the incredible force, the Japanese fighter feels his vision blur and wonders how the rookie got so strong. Gang Chan peers over his own guard with an intense gaze that shows he is now fully locked into the rhythm of this fight. Ducking down low, the young boxer prepares a devastating move that will surely catch his rival completely off balance. He then starts firing off punches from a lower angle, making it almost impossible for the other man to block them all. Another heavy hit connects with Yamamoto's jaw and the momentum of the match shifts entirely in the hero's favor. Sweat pours down the boy's face, but his focus never wavers even for a single second during this high-speed exchange. A close look at his eye reveals the sheer determination of a warrior who refuses to let down the people in his village. Slipping effortlessly under a wild swing, the protagonist gets into a perfect position to end the entire confrontation. A final red blur flies toward the camera as the young fighter puts every ounce of his energy into one last powerful strike. A massive strike explodes against the fighter's face while the crowd screams in excitement during this intense clash. Ryuji focuses his gaze while his bright green shoes grip the mat to maintain his perfect balance in the ring. Standing tall and determined, the young hero shows off his toned physique while waiting for the next big exchange. With a confident smirk, the boy declares this is now his territory and he is ready to take complete control. A red glove blurs through the air as it misses the target by just a few inches due to a very quick head movement. The young boxer looks surprised as a punch comes flying in, but he remains focused on the dangerous situation. Watching from the corner, the old coach wonders how to stop someone who uses the ropes to slip away from every attack. He analyzes the situation, noting that using the rebound creates too many escape routes for the flexible Japanese rival. The solution is simple because blocking the path with a lead hand will shut down every single one of his movements. Applying the advice immediately, the hero lunges forward with a lightning-fast jab to trap his slippery opponent. Focusing his gaze, he realizes that he just needs to pin the other man down to land a clean and final finishing blow. A powerful strike smashes right into the center of the rival's face as the protagonist finally lands a counter. Both fighters lock eyes for a split second as the heat of the national event reaches its ultimate and most brutal peak. The young man unleashes a non-stop barrage of punches that leave afterimages while his rival struggles to defend himself. With a cold and determined look, he finishes his combination and prepares to deliver one last devastating hit to end it. Suddenly, the young boxer lunges forward and lands a massive punch right on his opponent's face while everyone watches. Breathing heavily, he focuses all his strength into this one attack, hoping to end the difficult match right now. A powerful strike connects squarely with the other fighter's head and sends shockwaves through the entire arena. Impact lines appear as the force of the hit ripples through the man's skin, making him lose all of his balance. Falling onto the cold mat, the Japanese fighter is completely knocked out while our hero just stands there victorious. Gasping for air, the boy looks down in total shock as he realizes that he actually managed to win this huge fight. Looking at a memory, we see a man hanging his head as the weight of the past starts to haunt him. Ryuji remembers when he used to run with the top biker gang back in Osaka. Back then, the only things the delinquent cared about were his own body and his fast motorcycle. Walking away from the police station, he remembers his mother having to bail him out yet again. A neighbor yells at the boy, telling him he needs to start treating his parent better. Getting angry, the young rebel asks the old man who he thinks he is to give him a lecture. His mother begs him to just find a normal job and live like everyone else, but he refuses to listen. Seeing the exhaustion on her face, the poor woman can only watch as her son throws his life away. Bitterness fills his heart as the teenager blames his late father for leaving them all alone. Suddenly, the world stops when his mother collapses right on the street while trying to follow him. At the clinic, the news is terrible because the doctors say she is suffering from kidney failure. Resting in a hospital bed, she looks frail while the staff explains that her body is completely worn out. Realizing the truth, the young man learns her health was destroyed while she was raising him alone. Guilt washes over the boxer as he understands that he had already taken everything she ever had. Staring at nothing, the teenager wonders why he lived like such a jerk for all those years. Ryuji carries massive sacks on his back while working every single hour of his day to make some cash. Switching to a waiter job, the boy continues to push himself even though the work is incredibly tiring. Looking at his small envelope of cash, he realizes the pay is not enough for the hospital bills or a transplant. Standing alone in the street, he wonders how many years his mother had to suffer through this pain. A look of pure focus appears on his face as he decides that he must find a better way to help his family. Staring at a poster on the wall, he starts to think that the ring might be his only chance to succeed. Stepping into the gym, he trains hard to become a champion so he can finally pay those surgery fees. Visiting the clinic, his friend smiles and says it is nice to see him working so hard at his sport. Feeling a bit shy, the athlete scratches his head while his cheeks turn a bright shade of red from the praise. She then asks why he always looks so mad since he should be active because he actually enjoys it. Pushing his limits during practice, he screams that he loves combat with all of his heart and soul. Both of them share a loud laugh while the heavy tension from before finally starts to fade away. Walking through his neighborhood, a local man calls out to him with a very excited expression. The bald neighbor yells that he heard about the overseas match and demands that the kid brings home a win. Feeling the pressure, he realizes that being a representative means the entire town is now counting on him. Looking shocked, the boy wonders if a person like him should really be representing his whole country. He feels the massive weight of the world on his shoulders as he looks at the giant stadium before the big match. This intense pressure made him briefly forget the real reason he started his boxing journey in the first place. Focusing his gaze, the rookie stares ahead with a new sense of purpose while his mind begins to clear. Suddenly, the opponent smiles brightly and offers a friendly greeting despite being in the middle of a war. The young fighter looks on with a blank expression as he tries to process his rival's unexpected kindness. Thanks to that simple smile, the boy finally remembers the precious memories that keep him moving forward. He thinks of a woman resting in a hospital bed who always supported him with a gentle and warm expression. The rival continues to look happy while our protagonist wonders what is truly driving the other man to fight. Standing in the center of the ring, the Japanese boxer asks what exactly the young hero is boxing for today. A close-up of the bruised face shows the heavy damage taken during this incredibly brutal and fast match. Lying flat on the canvas, the opponent admits his defeat while the entire crowd goes wild for the victory. Rubbing his aching head, the defeated fighter groans in pain from that final and devastating knockout blow. The man looks up with a dazed expression and tries to speak, although his mind is still very foggy. With a worried look, the rookie rushes over and asks his rival if he is actually all right after the tough bout. After the intense battle, the young winner reaches out his hand to help his fallen opponent get back up. Firmly grasping each other's hands, they show true respect while the stadium continues to roar with excitement. Looking a bit shy, our protagonist starts to mumble something while trying to find the right words to say. Completely surprised by the unexpected comment, the Japanese fighter just stares back with a confused expression. Screaming out a thank you in Japanese, the boy makes everyone smile as he bows politely in the middle of the ring. Focusing his gaze, the rival takes a moment to process the kindness shown by the rookie who just defeated him. Laughing out loud, the opponent replies in both languages while showing a genuine grin for the first time. Standing together in the center of the arena, both warriors receive a massive standing ovation from the crowd. Walking over to her friend, the girl asks if he practiced that specific line just in case he won the match. Simply shaking his head, the young fighter gives an honest answer while keeping a calm and peaceful look. He then explains that he would have said those same words even if the result of the fight was a total loss. Watching him walk away, the teammate notices how broad his back seems now that he has grown into a real pro. Soaring through the bright blue sky, a single airplane carries someone special away to a very distant land. Arriving at the massive international airport, the scene shifts as people move around the busy terminal. Looking a bit reflective, the defeated fighter prepares to head home while carrying his new memories of Korea. Looking around the busy hallway, a man calls out for his son while the crowds begin to leave the massive arena. Slowly turning toward the exit, the defeated fighter sees his mother holding a sign to welcome her own champion home. Approaching her with a sad smile, the young man admits he lost the fight, but she says she already watched the match. With a soft gaze, she tells him that to her this was his coolest and most amazing fight ever. Overwhelmed by her kindness, the boxer leans his head on her shoulder while finally letting go of all his heavy stress. Pulling him into a warm hug, the woman tells him he worked incredibly hard and she is so proud of her child. Small tears begin to fall as the rookie finally realizes that he does not have to carry the burden alone anymore. Crying out loud, the protagonist says he is so sorry for everything while holding on to her as if he might lose her. Back at the local boxing gym, the sun is shining bright as someone suddenly calls out for our hero from the entrance. Pausing his routine, the trainee wonders who could be looking for him at this time of day. Quickly, his teammates rush over with a tablet and tell him to look at the screen as they seem very worried. Confused by their strange behavior, the athlete asks why they are acting so weird and what could possibly be the problem. Appearing with a creepy grin, a mysterious person mentions they heard the kid has been working very hard lately. Instantly, the youngster's expression turns into one of pure rage as he recognizes the voice of his old enemy. Mockingly, the red-haired thug asks if his grandmother is doing well, which makes the teen's blood boil with anger. Discussing the past events, the man with glasses mentions that something serious happened back in the boy's hometown. Inside the office, the agent explains that since the champion is involved, this will definitely become a huge issue. Feeling guilty, the young fighter apologizes for keeping secrets, but the manager says it is totally fine. While adjusting his glasses, the man says the good news is that the other side is not planning to talk about the incident. Because of a recent live stream, the agent mentions that a guy named Sengi was trash-talking the rookie and his family. According to the agent, the enemy wants to use that story to create a narrative and boost his own publicity. Immediately, the old coach shows his disapproval by stating that he is completely against the idea of this match. With a stern look, the master explains that a match with mixed emotions stops being boxing and just turns into a fight. Even though it is risky, the agent claims that based on skill, the protagonist can win this match without much trouble. Noticing the fatigue, the mentor notes that the kid is still mentally drained from that intense Korea and Japan battle. If they refuse, the agent says that avoiding the fight will hurt their image as the public will keep pushing for it. Closing his eyes in silence, the old man takes a moment to think about the best path for his talented student. Finally, the master turns his gaze and asks the young man for his own opinion on this very difficult situation. Looking surprised, the boy begins to speak while everyone in the room waits for his final decision. Lying on the table, the old flip phone sits there while a heavy atmosphere fills the entire office. The agent apologizes while handing over a phone to the young fighter so he can answer it. Picking up the device, the boy asks the village chief why he is calling during such an important moment. Sounding very hesitant, the old man on the other end slowly calls out the young boxer's name. Hearing the news, the protagonist's face turns pale as he stares into space with a look of pure horror. He starts to remember all the kind seniors who live in the peaceful Sunshine Village. Thinking back, he remembers being a little troublemaker while the residents constantly played with him. Taking turns to look after the energetic kid, they even set specific dates and times for babysitting. Being completely wiped out by his energy, the poor adults would often collapse from exhaustion the next day. Then he recalls Grandma Kim's son Wook, who was a very hard worker and farmed a small plot of land. Using the organic vegetables she grew herself, the kind lady would always make him many healthy meals. Next, he remembers the elderly scholar who was famously known as the single person with a degree there. Patiently teaching him the alphabet, this smart man helped him learn how to speak when he was just a child. Also appearing in his mind is the talented seamstress who was truly famous for having golden hands. Making custom clothes for his rapidly growing body, the lady would always smile and say they suited him. Finally, he sees the face of Grandpa Oh Byongsu, the respected leader who serves as the village chief. Riding a red bike as a kid, he remembers how the old man taught him many different sports in the small village. Transitioning to the present, we see a funeral photo of Grandma Young Hee, who sadly just passed away today. Setting down a bowl of rice, a hand reaches out during the traditional ceremony to honor her memory. Bowing her head, the elderly lady thanks the coach for traveling so far just to pay his respects at the service. Looking confused, the gray-haired man asks why the young fighter is acting as the main person in charge here. Standing in a black suit, he hears that the lady had no children, so she treated him like her own flesh and blood. While looking down, she explains that the boy feels it is only right for him to take on this big responsibility. Passing a white envelope, she asks the coach to deliver a secret message to the young boxer at a later time. Walking through the hallway, the mentor moves with heavy steps while thinking about the mysterious letter in his hand. Reading the paper carefully, the old man looks surprised by whatever information is written inside that secret note. Standing in the rain, he decides that he cannot give the message to the kid during such a difficult and sad time. Outside the boxing gym, the neon sign flickers as the focus returns to his intense and daily training routine. Crossing his arms, the coach warns that letting emotions take over will make him lose 30% of his skill. Staring back with fire in his eyes, the determined teenager declares that he is definitely going to win the next match. Knowing the opponent has 1 win and 3 losses, the man admits the boy has a huge advantage in pure boxing talent. One of his previous losses happened because he got disqualified for fighting dirty in the ring. Showing his true self, the guy always lets his bad personality leak into every move he makes. His coach mentions there is no special training needed as long as he keeps his head straight. Looking very serious, the young fighter simply replies that he has understood the instructions. Finally, it is weigh-in day and an official calls our hero to come and step on the scale. Removing his shirt, the protagonist reveals a body that is much more muscular than before. He stands on the scale while the crowd whispers about how much his physique has improved. Both teammates are shocked noticing he got way taller and stronger since his debut match. The girl realizes that cutting weight must have been incredibly hard for him this time. While watching the kid, his mentor thinks he must have hidden his struggles for this fight. Suddenly a familiar voice calls out to the country bumpkin from across the large room. The red-haired punk laughs while asking if his grandmother still has that scar on her head. Being surprised by the height, the thug says he started boxing to get revenge for his boss. Mocking his lean frame, the jerk asks if his grandma is not feeding him enough lately. Finally remembering the trash, our hero stares back with a very calm but dangerous look. With a nasty smile, the red-haired jerk asks if one of the old ladies from the village died recently. Laughing like a total psycho, he mocks the boy for not having parents while making fun of his family. Instead of getting angry, the young fighter just gives a simple thanks for the comment. Looking directly at the thug, he says he is actually glad the guy decided to challenge him first. With a terrifying gaze, he warns that inside the ring nobody will care even if things get really messy. Arriving on the following day, the two boxers finally clash their gloves together to start the duel. Under the bright stage lights, both fighters stand ready in the center of the massive boxing ring. Screaming from the stands, the fans yell for the protagonist to absolutely wreck the fiery-haired bastard. Raising his hand quickly, the referee signals for the official match to begin with a loud command. Thinking to himself with a smug grin, the opponent wonders how he should play with his new victim. Lunging forward, the angry striker throws a powerful jab while focusing on the young hero. Suddenly a massive red glove smashes right into the jerk's face with incredible force and speed. Launching the first attack, the rookie looks dead serious and refuses to show his usual cheerful smile. Gang Chan starts the fight with an intense look as he prepares to land a massive punch on the red-haired punk. Suddenly a powerful strike connects with a loud bang, sending shockwaves through the entire boxing arena. Landing a solid hit, the protagonist watches as the opponent's face twists from the sheer force of the blow. Moving with incredible speed, the rookie continues to press forward while unleashing a barrage of non-stop attacks. The bully tries to block the flurry of punches, but the speed is way too much for him to handle right now. Preparing his next move, the young fighter clenches his red glove to deliver another devastating strike. With a loud thud, a brutal body shot lands perfectly, making the red-haired guy double over in absolute agony. Struggling to breathe, the jerk looks completely dazed while sweat drips from his face after that heavy impact. Falling to the canvas, the thug named Sengi clutches his stomach while the referee starts the official count. Staring down his fallen enemy, the main character shows a cold expression that is full of pure determination. Stepping in quickly, the referee stops the assault and orders the boy to head back to his corner immediately. Gritting his teeth, the downed punk glares at the rookie while thinking about how much he hates losing like this. With a creepy smile, the jerk says that the boy is dead now because he still has a nasty trick up his sleeve. Watching from the side, the coach agrees with Seo Yun that the red-haired fighter is clearly outmatched today. The old man notes his movements are too big and his bad condition means his stamina will not last much longer. Shouting a command, the referee starts the match as the red-haired thug gets into a defensive stance. Lunging forward with incredible speed, the protagonist unleashes a powerful punch aimed straight at his target. Ducking under a wild attack, the young fighter shows off his training by avoiding the clumsy strike from his foe. Connecting with a solid hit, the boy smashes his glove into the side of the jerk's head with a loud sound. Thinking that move was way too close, the rookie regains his focus to prepare for the next big exchange. Suddenly the red-haired punk grabs the boy in a tight clinch, trying to stop his momentum in the middle of the ring. Moving his foot closer, the red-haired thug smiles while preparing to use a very sneaky move in the clinch. Taking a hard hit, the boy looks on in shock as he realizes his opponent just landed a foul punch to his head. Screaming from the side, the old coach tells his student to relax his body so he doesn't waste all his stamina. Jumping between the two fighters, the official yells for them to break and separate immediately. Glaring with a sinister look, the red-haired jerk shows his true intentions of hurting the boy at any cost. Striking while the referee is right there, the dirty fighter lands another illegal punch on the unsuspecting hero. Feeling completely stunned, the protagonist looks around in confusion while trying to process the foul play. Yelling at the top of his lungs, the referee warns the thug that he cannot throw any punches during a clinch. Offering a fake apology with a smug grin, the jerk pretends he didn't realize what he was doing in the ring. Starting the fight, the referee yells for the two boxers to finally begin their long-awaited battle. Launching forward, the young hero throws a fast punch while trying to keep his lead hand steady. Screaming with effort, the boy lands a clean hit right on the face of the disrespectful red-haired punk. Thinking to himself, the villain believes he can endure the pain while noticing his opponent is getting tired. Suddenly the antagonist lunges in to grab the rookie and shouts that they should go one more time. Getting frustrated, the young man wonders why this guy keeps sticking to him like some kind of glue. Yelling in anger, the protagonist tells the jerk to stay back and stop trying to hug him during the match. Moving with incredible speed, a blurry strike flies through the air as the tension continues to rise. Showing his true colors, the dirty fighter launches a hidden attack while the crowd watches in shock. Feeling a sharp pain, the hero realizes that the crazy man just used an elbow instead of a legal punch. Smashing right into his eye, the illegal move catches the boy completely off guard and dazes him. With a sinister grin, the red-haired thug looks up and prepares to deliver another cruel blow. Glaring with pure hatred, the enemy mumbles a terrible insult while hoping to end the boxing career today. Colliding with massive force, the two fighters clash as the villain uses a headbutt to cause more damage. Wincing in pain, the rookie holds his head while struggling to stay focused on the dangerous situation. Suddenly a loud ring from the red bell echoes through the arena because the referee needs to pause the fight. Pointing a finger, the official yells that he saw the illegal headbutt and the opponent knows he finally got caught. Running to his corner, the mentor asks if he is fine while the girl watches him with a very worried expression. Gasping for air, the young fighter looks dazed as blood begins to drip down from a nasty wound near his eye. Looking very pale, the coach notes the injury is deep and fears the boy cannot survive the rest of this match. Turning to the crew, the referee declares the fight might stop since the opponent should be disqualified for cheating. Ignoring the pain, the determined teenager stares ahead as he refuses to let the official end the battle right now. Clenching his teeth, the rookie begs them to let him keep going because he needs to finish this fight his way. Ringing loudly once more, the red bell signals the start of the next phase as the intense match continues. Walking forward with a cold gaze, the protagonist shows his shredded physique and prepares to unleash his full power. Discussing the situation, the team notes the first aid is done but the blood is already blurring his vision. Stomping his foot firmly on the canvas, the boxer finds his balance and gets ready to strike the red-haired punk. Moving like a ghost, the hero easily slips under a wild punch while his target looks completely and utterly shocked. Focusing his one good eye, the young warrior locks onto his goal with a level of concentration that is truly scary. Unleashing a massive strike, the protagonist lands a devastating hit that smashes right into the cheating thug's face. Lunging forward, the red-haired punk tries to land a heavy blow while the boy slips away with incredible speed. Staring with an intense gaze, the young boxer focuses every bit of his attention on his opponent's next move. Throwing a quick jab, the hero tries to break through the guard but the fiery enemy stays perfectly in position. Focusing his eyes, the villain looks closely at the red glove while trying to predict the incoming strike. Realizing he cannot find the right distance, the rookie gets worried because he can't seem to land a clean hit. Grinning like a total madman, the punk reveals his green mouthguard while feeling confident about the fight. Launching a massive punch, the red-haired jerk puts all of his weight into a strike aimed at the kid's face. Taking a direct hit to the head, the young fighter feels the impact as blood splatters across his dazed face. Appearing behind a curtain of blood, the sinister enemy smirks while enjoying the sight of the boy's struggle. Moving in a complete blur, the bully charges forward to finish the match with one final and brutal blow. Crashing onto the canvas, the protagonist is sent flying as the massive power of the punch takes its heavy toll. Looking up with a dazed expression, the injured hero struggles to stay conscious after taking that devastating hit. Looking completely dazed, the young fighter struggles to stay awake while blood drips down from a nasty wound on his face. Suddenly his eyes go wide as he realizes the weight of what just happened in the middle of that intense boxing arena. Staring up with a shocked expression, the boy calls out for his mentor while trying to process the final result of the match. Appearing in the ring, the old coach looks down with a very serious and troubled gaze while staying silent for a moment. With a look of pure horror, the rookie mutters that they actually lost the fight and his mind goes completely blank. Mocking him from behind, the red-haired jerk laughs out loud while celebrating his dirty victory and punching the air. Grinning like a psycho, the villain says the boy would be in a coffin just like that poor lady from his old village. Hearing those cruel words, the protagonist looks on in total shock because the insult to his family is way too much. Watching the scene, the gray-haired coach realizes the opponent is just a coward who can only win by playing dirty. Threatening the punk, the master screams for him to get lost immediately before he decides to end him right there. Pretending to be tough, the red-haired thug walks away while muttering that the teacher and student are both too emotional. Laughing like a total jerk, the villain thanks them for the prize money while the boy stays on his knees in despair. Releasing his rage in the locker room, the young man smashes his fist against the metal while it cracks from the force. Leaning his head against the dented locker, the boxer trembles with frustration because he could not protect his pride. Bursting into the room, the old coach yells at the kid, asking what the hell he thinks he is doing with all that anger. Lowering his head, the young fighter mumbles a soft apology while tears start to blur his entire vision. Looking completely stunned, the old coach just stares back with a very wide and shocked expression on his face. Letting out a heavy and tired sigh, the mentor closes his eyes while trying to process this emotional moment. Handing over a piece of paper, the gray-haired man explains that this is a final letter from the late grandma. Holding the white paper with trembling hands, the boy reads the first words of the message from the woman who raised him. The young man's eyes go wide with pure shock as he reads that the doctors said she didn't have much time left. Looking back on her life, the old lady writes that she was happy but still had one single regret on her mind. Mentioning his training, she says she always knew he loved the sport and wished she had that same kind of fire. While watching him strike the bag, she felt a boiling heat in her chest that made her want to help him succeed. Smiling to herself, she explains how she would secretly stitch up his old sandbag whenever it started to tear apart. Squatting in the dirt, the kind woman would even pull out all the weeds around his training spot to keep him safe. Watching him walk through the pouring rain, she felt so proud because he was fighting for the sake of the whole village. Realizing she was his very first fan, the lady admits her only regret is not seeing him become a true champion. Seeing the dried teardrops on the page, he reads her final words of love, telling him to stay strong for her. Turning away in silence, the rookie boxer lets his emotions take over as his coach watches him from behind. Looking down in the locker room, the old man tells his student that getting emotional just moved him away from his dream. Tears stream down his face while he remembers the stinging pain of the defeat he just suffered in the ring. Crying quietly, the boy mumbles that he feels like he hasn't gotten any stronger despite all the hard training. Moving to the agency building, the team realizes they must find a way to fix this mess before things get worse. Sitting at the desk, the agent admits that the loss was a shock, so the company is still figuring out their next move. Crossing his arms firmly, the coach looks at the man and declares that they want a rematch no matter what happens. The manager agrees but notes there is no reason for the other side to accept a second fight with them. With a cold look, the old master suggests offering 3 times the money since greedy people are easily swayed by cash. Suddenly, the mentor turns his gaze toward his student, who is listening to the intense conversation from the side. Shocking the young fighter, the master states that if he fails this next match, he will be expelled from the gym. Looking very stern, the old man says he refuses to train anyone who loses twice to trash like that red-haired punk. Showing a new look of determination, the boy agrees to the terms and promises to not let his team down again. Finalizing the plan, the company sets up the fight for 3 months later to keep the kid's popularity from dropping. Walking through the hallway, the shirtless boxer heads toward the ring with his friends right by his side for support. Taking a deep breath, the young man looks forward and prepares to show everyone how much he has improved recently. Suddenly, the name of the protagonist echoes through the hallway as he looks up with a very surprised expression. Turning around, he sees his family member standing right there with a gentle and warm smile on her face. Approaching him quickly, the grandmother calls him a little rascal while she grabs his face with both hands. She then says that he did well alone, but from now on the old lady will be there to cheer for him during every match. Complaining about his messy hair, the grandma tries to fix his look so he can see everything clearly in front of him. Gently brushing the long bangs away from his eyes, the lady makes sure that the boy is ready for the upcoming fight. Looking much better now, the hero realizes that having his hair out of his face makes a huge difference. Feeling very emotional, the elderly woman pulls him into another tight embrace because she missed him so much. While hugging her tightly, the young fighter sincerely thanks his grandmother for coming all the way to see him. Under the bright lights of the arena, the announcer yells that the rematch between the two rivals is about to start. Standing in the center of the ring, both warriors prepare to settle their score as the entire crowd begins to roar. Laughing like a total jerk, the red-haired opponent asks if the kid really thinks he can win this second fight. With a nasty look, the bully then asks exactly how the boy plans on getting beaten up by him during the match today. Showing a very calm expression, the young boxer just stares back at his rival without saying a single word. Focusing his gaze, the protagonist prepares to show everyone that he is no longer the same weak kid from before. Shouting for the start of the match, the referee signals that the intense battle between the rivals is finally on. Mocking the hero, the red-haired thug asks why he is smiling like an idiot before promising to wreck him completely. Clenching his fist, the young protagonist prepares to deliver a powerful strike to the arrogant bully's face. Seeing an opening, the hero lunges forward with incredible speed while trying to land a clean hit on his dazed enemy. Telling the jerk to get lost, the dark-haired boy throws a massive punch while maintaining a very cold expression. Smashing right into the target, the powerful blow sends shockwaves through the entire boxing ring and the crowd. Unleashing a second strike, the rookie follows up with a lightning-fast hook that catches the villain off guard. Watching the movements carefully, the young man realizes that his opponent is exactly as weak as he first expected. Moving like a complete blur, the hero avoids a wild swing while getting into a better position to counter his foe. Getting furious, the red-haired punk thinks he needs to change his plan after being dominated by the talented kid. Deciding to play dirty, the villain tries to close the distance by going in for a tight clinch to stop the boy. Grabbing the hero tightly, the bully attempts to stop his momentum while the entire crowd watches the struggle. Observing from the sidelines, the teammate is completely shocked when she recognizes a very familiar and elite move. Recalling the world champion, she realizes the kid is using the exact same technique that defeated the previous rival. Looking totally baffled, the red-haired thug wonders how a simple rookie can pull off such a high-level boxing move. The young fighter unleashes a non-stop barrage of punches that look like multiple shadows attacking the bully at once. A massive red glove blurs through the air while he puts every ounce of his energy into one last finishing strike. The powerful hit connects squarely with the villain's face and sends shockwaves through the entire boxing arena. Falling to the mat, the red-haired jerk loses his balance while the crowd screams at the top of their lungs. Standing tall, the rookie raises his arm as the referee declares a knockdown for the opening round of the match. Deep in the audience, a mysterious man with a white cap watches the fight while keeping his arms crossed tightly. Showing a very serious look, the stranger stares at the ring and his red eyes reveal he is not just a normal fan. Suddenly, the red-haired punk screams that the fight is not over yet and tells the hero not to turn his back on him. Looking back with a calm face, the rookie boxer simply remarks that getting up after that hit must be really tough for him. Exploding with pure rage, the villain yells that he can definitely do this while forcing his tired body back onto his feet. Seeing both fighters are ready, the referee shouts for them to box as the intense match officially resumes once again. Focusing his gaze, the bully stares ahead with an intense look while trying to find a way to land a clean hit on the boy. Moving in a complete blur, the protagonist lunges forward and prepares to unleash a powerful red glove on his target. Using his incredible speed, the hero fires off a barrage of non-stop attacks that look like multiple shadows in the ring. Collapsing once more, the red-haired jerk feels his knee hit the hard canvas as he loses his balance for the second time. Shouting at the top of his lungs, the announcer screams that the opponent is down again in just a matter of seconds. Looking completely dazed, the antagonist realizes he cannot even see the punches coming or find any way to respond to them. Approaching the fallen man, the referee asks if he is okay, and the opponent quickly yells that he is still fine to keep fighting. Warning the fighter, the official explains that one more knockdown in this single round will mean the entire match is over. Screaming in desperation, the red-haired fighter demands that they just start the match already because he wants his revenge. Signaling with his hand, the referee gives the final command to box as the two rivals prepare to clash for the last time. Sliding his green shoe across the mat, the red-haired guy lunges forward with everything he has left in his body. The red-haired thug throws a wild punch while trying to catch the young fighter off guard. Ducking with ease, the boy avoids the clumsy attack as the crowd watches in total silence. Having a very intense gaze, the young man tells himself that he will definitely finish this match now. Gritting his teeth, the antagonist yells in frustration since his emotions make him miss every hit. Moving like a ghost, the rookie thinks to himself that those attacks filled with pure anger are way too slow. Launching a lightning-fast strike, the protagonist prepares to land a massive hit from a lower angle. Smashing right into the target, the powerful punch connects squarely with the bully's face. Stunned by the impact, the villain's eyes go white and he starts to lose his balance in the ring. Unleashing a non-stop flurry of blows, the young boxer delivers 3 quick hits to overwhelm his foe. Focusing his mind, the talented fighter prepares his final movement while staying perfectly calm. Struggling to stay standing, the red opponent groans in pain while his body finally starts to give out. Staring with a cold gaze, the main character observes his dazed rival and waits for the right moment to end it. With a swift and precise motion, the student delivers one last tap to send the jerk down to the canvas. Crashing hard onto the mat, the loser is finally defeated and lies face down in the middle of the arena. Having secured 3 downs in just round 1, the announcer yells that Gang Chan has claimed a total victory. Standing tall in the center of the ring, the young fighter raises his red glove while the audience cheers his name loudly. Feeling the energy in the massive arena, the crowd keeps screaming because they just witnessed a very thrilling boxing match. Approaching with a microphone, the announcer offers congratulations to the rookie for winning his highly expected rematch. Suddenly, a mysterious man wearing a red jacket and a white cap starts walking through the rows of people toward the stage. Across the stands, many people begin to point and shout while wondering if this strange man is actually a dangerous intruder. Looking over his shoulder, the protagonist feels confused and wonders why everyone is suddenly reacting so strongly. Without any hesitation, the stranger reaches out and firmly grabs the microphone right from the announcer's hand. Speaking calmly, the man apologizes for the interruption and says he has been watching the kids' recent matches. While the official looks completely stunned, the intruder explains that he has been following the boy's career very closely. Tipping his white cap, the mysterious stranger finally prepares to reveal his true identity to the entire world. Calmly revealing his face, the man says he is Kwon Tae-jin, and the crowd realizes he is the lightweight champion. Staring back in disbelief, the young boxer can only wonder why a legendary champion would even bother to show up here. Getting straight to the point, the visitor glares with an intense gaze that shows he is not here to play any games. Standing face to face in the ring, the professional makes a shocking request by asking the rookie to fight him soon. Thinking about the future, the young fighter wonders why such a famous champion would suddenly call him out like that. Boxing used to be unpopular in Korea, but everything changed when the master became the world champion and popularity surged. Now anyone related to the pro gets tons of attention, so opponents want to beat the student just to get famous themselves. The young fighter asks himself if he is ready for a title fight, especially since weight cuts are getting very tough lately. The agent explains that if he moves up a weight class now, his record gets deleted and he must start from the bottom again. Their plan is to win the domestic title first and then compete in the East Pacific tournament as a regional champion. If the boy achieves good results at the international level, then he can finally aim for the massive world stage one day. He wonders if 4 fights are enough, but the man says title matches happen after 5 wins because the talent pool is small. With many separate associations, the pool is even smaller, so it is early but definitely worth attempting for the rookie. Looking at the photo of his late grandma, he tells himself that he does not want to delay his success any longer for her sake. The old coach then asks the most important question, which is whether he can actually beat the current champion or not today. Both experts look at each other and agree that his odds of winning are only 10% during this specific moment. With a very serious expression, the master calls out the name of the young fighter to get his full and undivided attention. The old man then stares directly at him and asks what the boy thinks his own boxing style really is in the ring. Taking a moment to process the deep question, the rookie asks himself what his boxing is supposed to be in his heart. The coach says he has solid basics but lacks a personal style, and without that he will only end in total defeat. A pair of red athletic shoes stands firmly on the tiled floor as someone prepares for a big day. While walking down the street, the old mentor tells the young man that next week is the chance to solve his current problem. Turning his head, the coach admits he was so focused on the title fight that he completely forgot the date. Looking surprised, the boy listens as the old man mentions the title challenge and defense coming up for his friends. Standing outside, the young boxer looks up at the sky while tiny white flakes start falling from above. Feeling the cold on his face, the protagonist realizes it is finally starting to snow in the middle of the city. Passing his first year as a pro, the young man has a record of 3 wins and 1 loss now that he is 20 years old. Above the tall buildings, the gray sky signals that the time for the big championship matches has finally arrived. A close look shows dark blue hair as someone prepares to step into the bright lights of the boxing ring. Stepping forward with a determined gaze, the girl named Seo Yoon looks ready to take on her biggest challenge yet. Seeing her on stage, the boy calls out her name while looking much more anxious than the actual fighter. Trying to act brave, he tells her to stay calm, although his own face shows he is the one shaking with fear. A confident smile appears on her face, showing she is not bothered by the pressure of the title match. Grinning widely, she declares that there is no way she will let the younger boy become a champion before she does. Watching his teammate, the young man smiles back as she promises to go and grab that golden belt for the gym. Moving the camera down, we see a close-up of a blue and white boxing boot stepping firmly onto the canvas of the ring. Seo-yun stands tall while facing a much larger female opponent who looks ready to start their own intense match. Looking completely shocked, the young man realizes that the height difference between the two girls is truly massive. The story then jumps back to the day before the match, right after the official weigh-in at a fancy restaurant. Feeling relieved, the protagonist finally gets to eat some delicious food after the long struggle of cutting weight. His teammate offers him a piece of steak while noticing that he is surprisingly using his right hand to cut the meat. He explains that he normally uses his left hand for most tasks since he can actually use both sides with ease. The girl is surprised to learn he is ambidextrous and admits she never noticed that specific detail about him before. Noticing his mood, she asks why he looks so worried and if something is bothering his mind during their meal. He admits he is nervous for her match and has been questioning if his current style is really the right path for him. Laughing it off, she tells him that being locked into one unique style is exactly what makes him such a great fighter. She adds that his creative ring control probably comes from growing up around all those kind adults in his village. Her expression turns dark as she mentions that having a bad parent like her dad makes it better to have none at all. Realizing she just said something way too heavy, the girl suddenly looks shocked and tries to fix her sudden outburst. The young man is left completely speechless by her deep confession while he just keeps holding his fork in surprise. Apologizing softly, she feels bad for saying something inappropriate while the young man assures her it is all okay. Inside her mind, her eyes reveal a deep sadness as she starts to remember a very painful part of her own past. Scattered across the floor are old water bottles and medicine, showing a home life that was far from being happy. During the flashback, the daughter remembers her father being aggressive while they lived surrounded by cardboard boxes. While screaming in rage, the man blames her for looking like her mother as his face twists with pure and unfiltered anger. Even though she is crying, the girl shouts that her mom only left because he was such a terrible person to live with. Over at the local school, we see the building where the student always tried to hide her struggles from others. Because her face is bruised, her classmates notice something is wrong and approach her with many worried questions. Sitting at her desk, the young girl shows a face covered in marks while her friends ask what happened to her. With a deep sense of self-hatred, she realizes that she could not find a single honest way to answer their question. Instead of going straight home, the lonely child watches happy families pass by while her own heart feels very heavy. Standing alone on the sidewalk, she looks up at the sky, wondering if things will ever get better for her in life. Suddenly noticing a sign, the girl sees the boxing gym and feels a strange spark of hope for the very first time. Later that day, the athlete realized she could finally lie about her injuries by blaming her tough training. Eventually, the teenager admits that boxing became her ultimate shield and a way to protect her own dignity. A teacher found out about her situation, so the police arrived at the gym to investigate the report. Fearing the master would get in trouble, the young girl decided to tell the officers the whole truth. Tears streamed down her face as she felt guilty for causing such a mess and exposing her secret life. Instead of being angry, the coach placed his hand on her head to comfort the terrified student. Smiling warmly, he told the girl to just become a champion and even found her a safe place to stay. Suddenly, a mean man appeared at the entrance, screaming insults and looking for the poor girl. Thankfully, some reliable older guys stepped in, so for the first time she felt like she had a real family. Returning to the present, she is now fighting in the ring while taking several heavy blows to the face. Watching from the side, a young man notices that the reach difference between the fighters is truly massive. A powerful punch smashes into her guard while the girl tries her best to stay focused on the match. Her opponent looks very determined as she continues to unleash a relentless assault during the spar. Moving with incredible speed, the rival lands a long-range strike that pushes the girl back once more. Even with the heavy damage, her blue eyes stay wide open while she looks for a perfect opening to strike. The friend observes the fight and notes that she is the patient type who waits for the right moment. Fixing his gaze, the old master adds that she is never afraid of getting hit by any incoming attack. While the main match continues, the scene shifts to show Seo-yun throwing a lightning-fast jab in her own fight. Looking through her blue eye, she focuses all of her energy on the opponent's next movement. Suddenly, the girl delivers a massive overhead strike that catches the other fighter completely off guard. Connecting with a loud thud, the punch smashes right into the center of the woman's face. Despite the pain, the brown-haired opponent tries to stay calm while taking heavy damage from the attack. Amazed by her skill, the young hero realizes Seo-yun is built on sharp eyes and fast hands. In a flash, multiple afterimages appear as the female boxer unleashes rapid hits on her target. Moving like a complete blur, she lands a non-stop flurry of blue punches that overwhelm the defense. Feeling shocked, the protagonist notes that she must have landed 10 shots in just one single instant. Sweating from the pressure, the rival feels the heat of the battle while her vision begins to blur. Behind her guard, the opponent prepares for the next big exchange in the ring. As she strikes again, the blue-haired girl sees her punch get deflected by a very quick movement. While they watch, the coach explains the shoulder roll technique helps to easily slip punches. Staring with a serious expression, the old man declares that it is finally time for them to wait again. To break the defense, the student learns to step into the blind spot by circling to the right. Focusing her gaze, the student thinks about how the lead hand stays in guard so they can counter using the rear hand. Suddenly, the brown-haired opponent lunges forward while throwing a powerful strike across the bright boxing ring. While watching the incoming attack, the blue-haired fighter realizes this is the perfect moment to land her own counter. Moving like a ghost, she ducked under the heavy blow and prepared her blue gloves for a lightning-fast strike. Launching her fist forward, she executes the move perfectly and smashes her glove right into the rival's focused face. Stunned by the speed, the brown-haired teen widens her eyes while realizing she just made a huge mistake in the fight. With an explosive sound, the blue glove connects squarely, making the rival's head snap back from the massive impact. Gritting her teeth, the protagonist continues her relentless assault while the crowd watches this incredible display. Continuing the barrage, she lands another heavy hit that rattles the other boxer's entire body in the middle of the arena. Pushing her advantage, the athlete delivers a devastating blow that sends sweat flying everywhere as the tension peaks. Seeing the opening from above, the blue-haired warrior pummels her foe while keeping a very steady and rhythmic flow. Deeply focused, the fighter shows an intense look that reveals she is now completely locked into this brutal match. Another massive strike explodes against the opponent's face as the young woman puts all of her energy into the hit. Staring with her blue eyes, she watches for any sign of a recovery, but the other lady is already fading fast. Crashing against the ropes, the foe finally collapses while the referee moves in to end this one-sided confrontation. Seo Yun looks totally shocked while sweat drips down her face after a very intense moment in the ring. The referee waves his hands frantically to signal the end of the fight as the crowd begins to cheer loudly. Standing tall in the center of the ring, the girl finally becomes the new champion as her opponent lies defeated. Seeing her win, our protagonist looks overjoyed while the old coach watches with a very proud expression. The entire arena erupts in celebration as fans take photos and scream for their favorite new female champion. Clenching her teeth, the young woman tries to hold back her emotions while the weight of her victory finally sinks in. She lets out a massive roar of pure triumph as she finally releases all the tension from her body. Raising her arms high, she wears the championship belt and screams a big thank you to everyone in the audience. With a huge smile, she immediately turns to her master to share this incredible moment with the man who trained her. A close look at the shiny gold belt shows it represents the best fighter in the whole country of Korea. She reminds her mentor that he told her to pay him back by winning it all, and she finally did just that. Laughing happily, the girl points at the coach and yells that she officially kept her big promise to him. The old man looks completely stunned and calls her a brat while trying to hide how moved he is by her words. Looking on, she admits to herself that seeing all the adults cheer for Gang Chan made her feel a little bit jealous. Seeing the elders arrive, she realizes that the boy is truly lucky to be loved by so many people. Raising a hand in triumph, the coach yells with joy as the boy realizes that these people are his real family too.
Right after the girls' victory, the senior named Sungwoo starts his own title defense match in the ring. Using an aggressive infighting style, the veteran boxer pushes his opponent back with every single step. Stomping his foot firmly on the canvas, the champion maintains perfect balance while preparing his next big move. Showing off incredible skills, the title holder lands a final blow and takes a very easy win for the gym. Back at the training center, the sign shines brightly as the team returns from their successful night out. With a huge and cheerful smile, the young protagonist congratulates both of his teammates on the big result. Holding her new belt, the girl mockingly tells the rookie that he should not talk to winners like them. Pretending to cry, the boy runs to his master and complains that his friends are being mean to him. Even the coach just points at his own prize and says he also ignores people without a gold title. Looking completely stunned, the teenager wonders if this is really how people celebrate in the big city. Nearby, a serious fighter with purple hair watches the group and thinks the rookie is just a total fool. Later that night, the main character sits alone by the ring while thinking deeply about his boxing journey. Staring into the distance, the young man realizes that he is the only one left without a championship. He reflects on how his companions have unique styles while he still searches for his own signature way. While watching his other senior train on the heavy bag, the boy knows he must work harder to reach the top. A powerful blue glove smashes into the heavy bag while the narrator explains this fighter can end anyone with one single shot. Looking completely shocked, the young man wonders why such a skilled boxer hasn't started his professional career yet. Focusing his gaze, the dark-haired protagonist realizes he needs to discover his own path to get to that high level. Staring at his red bandages, the boy tells himself he will find his unique boxing style and become a true monster in the ring. While the coach watches from the side, we see a brown-haired athlete who looks incredibly sharp and ready for the next battle. Putting on his protective headgear, the talented opponent gets into a stance while the crowd waits for the action to start. Stomping firmly on the canvas, two rivals prepare to clash while the sound of their shoes echoes through the quiet gym. Unleashing a massive strike, the brown-haired warrior lands a clean punch that sends his partner's head snapping backward. Without stopping for even a second, he follows up with another brutal hit that makes the entire room go silent from the impact. Showing no emotion at all, the expert pro looks at his dazed opponent and prepares to finish the current training round. Glaring with an intense gaze, the strong striker simply tells the other guy he did good work during their difficult session. Looking totally exhausted, three separate men sit on the side while complaining they couldn't even touch the star student. Smashing through the guard, the southpaw proves he is just as dangerous against lefties as he is against everyone else. Turning his back, the legendary Taejin shows off his massive muscles while people call him the best southpaw in the land. Walking toward the center of the gym, a pair of red shoes moves with purpose as the next phase of the story begins today. The announcer yells that a super rookie has arrived like a comet as Lee Gang-chan finally enters the big ring. While walking forward, the young fighter thinks that the boxing ring feels much farther away than usual today. Pointing to the other corner, the loud man introduces the current champion who must now protect his golden belt. If the challenger is a fast comet, then the veteran holding the top spot is definitely as bright as the sun. Raising a fist, the lightweight champion named Kwon Tae-jin shows off his muscles and his shiny title to the crowd. Standing across the canvas, the protagonist gets into his stance while the bright lights shine down on his body. Looking very focused, the 19-year-old boxer feels a single drop of sweat roll down his face before the bell. Tossing his black robe aside, the champion prepares to show everyone why he is the king of this division right now. The stats show that 19-year-old Gang-chan is taller than the 22-year-old champion today. With a sudden signal from the referee, the match officially begins and the two warriors finally start to move. Launching the first attack, the rookie throws a lightning-fast jab to test the distance against the strong veteran. Moving like a ghost, the champion easily slips the punch while his eyes stay fixed on the young challenger's form. In a complete blur, the veteran counters with a massive strike that almost catches the protagonist off guard. Realizing the danger, the boy tries to adjust his timing while the two boxers move through a high-speed exchange. Staring into his rival's eyes, the kid realizes that against an orthodox fighter he doesn't need any probing at all. Fast movements fill the ring as the highly expected battle officially begins between the two talented boxers. Ducking under a massive swing, the experienced fighter prepares to launch a lightning-fast counter-attack of his own. Moving with incredible agility, the young man avoids a dangerous strike while keeping his eyes locked on the target. Looking completely stunned, the veteran realizes that his punch just missed the mark by a tiny fraction of an inch. Staring with an intense gaze, the man admits that the legendary disciple has instincts that are truly on another level. Launching a quick jab, the hero creates some much-needed distance to reset his position in the middle of the ring. Observing the match, the old mentor realizes that facing a seasoned southpaw is a huge challenge for his young student. Explaining the basics, we see that in a normal fight between right-handers, the lead hands always face opposite sides. Dealing with this matchup means the distance to the rear hand is longer, which makes the lead foot battle crucial. Unlike a textbook fight, these fighters are more comfortable stepping the opposite way, which risks exposing blind angles. Lacking enough experience, the protagonist finds himself at a major disadvantage as a fast punch grazes his dark hair. Realizing his defense was just breached, the boy shows a look of pure focus while trying to survive the next exchange. Lunging forward with massive power, the opponent throws a heavy strike while attempting to end the match right now. Diving low with a perfect duck, the rookie moves in close to bypass the long reach of the dangerous champion. Executing a flawless counter, the young warrior lands a solid hit that sends shockwaves through the entire boxing arena. Looking completely shocked, the opponent realizes that the move was actually just a clever bait. Suddenly, a powerful strike connects with a loud bang, sending shockwaves through the whole arena. Stunned by the impact, the rival feels his vision blur while taking massive damage from the hit. Focusing his gaze, the Japanese boxer admits to himself that he is currently losing the mental battle. Pushing forward with all his strength, the young hero yells that he will finally break through the defense. From the sidelines, the old coach screams for his student to avoid getting pulled into an infight. Ducking down low, the protagonist prepares a devastating move while maintaining a very tight guard. Moving like a ghost, the rookie stays in a crouched position as he waits for the perfect opening. Closing in fast, a white glove blurs through the air while the boy barely dodges the dangerous attack. Launching a massive strike, the opponent tries to finish the fight with one final and brutal blow. Smashing through the guard, the announcer screams as a clean hit lands squarely on the hero's face. Taking a heavy hit, the young boxer feels the power as the rival's punch connects once again. Falling to the canvas, the hero is sent down while the referee begins the official count of 3. Watching the timer, the mentor yells for the boy to stay down while the count reaches 4 and 5. Showing his incredible resolve, the protagonist stands up while the official count reaches 6. The first round finally comes to a close as the announcer screams that the champion totally dominated the entire 3 minutes. Looking at the rookie, the coach admits that the opponent has a very tough chin since he endured all of those heavy hits. While smiling, the old man says that the knockdown definitely did some real damage, so they need to keep up this great momentum. Across the ring, the rival thinks that the hero is a bit disappointing because he is only slightly faster than other boxers. Watching the kid, his opponent believes that just being tough isn't enough to catch the attention of a legend like Seo Jun. Gasping for air, our protagonist tells his team that the foe is way too strong while the girl tells him to just breathe. The coach warns that the rival is much more seasoned than they expected since he uses every advantage of his southpaw stance. With a serious look, the old man yells that his winning odds are dropping, so the boy must finally show his true boxing skill. Showing an intense gaze, the young fighter focuses his mind as he prepares to head back into the middle of the dangerous ring. Moving their feet carefully, both warriors plant themselves firmly on the canvas while the tension rises to a whole new level. The second round officially begins as both fighters lock eyes with a level of concentration that is truly scary for everyone. Watching that persistent grin, the rival wonders why a tired fighter is smiling as if he is trying to get inside his head. Clashing in the center, both boxers unleash a lightning-fast jab at the exact same time while the crowd cheers for the action. Despite the sudden change, the rival believes that nothing will change because he is confident in his own superior power. Lunging forward with a massive strike, the rival puts all of his weight into a punch that blurs across the entire boxing ring. The young fighter moves his red shoes quickly across the canvas as he tries to find the perfect rhythm in the ring. Both boxers trade blows in the center while the crowd watches the intense back and forth between the two athletes. Watching closely, the brown-haired rival notices that his opponent is trying to widen the distance with his lead hand. In a sudden blur of motion, the protagonist unleashes a flurry of punches that completely overwhelm the other man. Taking a deep breath, the talented rookie stands firm while sweat drips down his face from the exhausting match. The opponent prepares himself for the next exchange while looking dead serious about winning this difficult battle. Getting a strange sensation, the rival wonders about this weird feeling as he struggles to keep up with the pace. Sliding his foot across the mat, the fighter uses his incredible speed to position himself for a massive counter-attack. Raising his guard, the young hero stays focused on every single move while the tension in the arena reaches its peak. Moving like a ghost, the boy disappears from the rival's sight and prepares to deliver a finishing blow to the target. Lunging forward with all his power, the rookie lands a devastating hit that echoes throughout the entire boxing gym. Looking completely shocked, the brown-haired boxer realizes that he cannot react in time to the incoming red glove. Stomping his foot firmly, the protagonist finds his balance and prepares to end this confrontation once and for all. Throwing a desperate punch, the rival hopes to catch the kid off guard, but his movement is way too slow to connect. Smashing right into the target, the powerful strike connects squarely and sends the opponent flying back to the ropes. The brown-haired opponent looks completely shocked as he realizes the kid has suddenly switched to a southpaw stance. He remembers how he easily knocked away the boy's lead hand just a few moments earlier in the middle of this fight. Watching closely, the man wonders if the rookie naturally shifted his weight to use his rear hand for a surprise attack. Gritting his teeth, the rival thinks that knowing about the stance change will make the rest of the match much easier. Suddenly, the young fighter's red shoes blur across the canvas as he prepares to unleash a lightning-fast movement. Lunging forward, the protagonist throws a powerful strike while the other boxer tries to keep his guard up in time. In a complete blur of motion, the kid unleashes a massive flurry of punches that look like multiple shadows in the ring. The opponent's eyes go wide as he realizes the boy has already switched back to a standard orthodox fighting style. Looking totally dazed, the rival can only stare in disbelief while he struggles to keep track of the rookie's speed. He screams in his head that this kid is a switch hitter who can change his lead hand whenever he wants during a duel. Taking advantage of the confusion, the protagonist lands a devastating punch that smashes squarely into the man's face. Moving his feet with incredible agility, the boy maintains his balance while preparing to deliver the final blow. Another quick movement creates a loud sound as the young warrior closes the distance to end the confrontation for good. Putting all his strength into one last hit, the hero delivers a massive strike that sends the opponent flying backward. A close-up of the eye shows the intense focus of a winner who just proved his talent to everyone watching the match. Sitting at his computer, the young boxer studies how southpaws can easily block jabs by lining up their lead hands. Gazing at the screen, he finally understands the secret advantage and feels a drop of sweat roll down his face. While training in the gym, he starts shadowboxing and thinks about how to counter the current champion's style. Wondering about his own balance, the fighter asks himself what his specific strengths would be in this new stance. Looking closely at the mirror, the boy realizes that his foot positioning will be the most important key to success. Dedicated to his goal, the rookie spends 1 hour every single day practicing his movements as a southpaw. Switching back to his normal stance feels very awkward since it looks like his reflection has suddenly flipped over. Thinking deeply, he realizes that changing positions mid-fight could be the perfect way to confuse any opponent. Approaching his mentor, the young man asks if the master could hold the training mitts for him right now. Requesting a difficult drill, he asks the coach to mix both stances together while they practice their combinations. Observing the boy, the old man wonders if his student has finally discovered the answer he was looking for. Learning the term, he finds out that a switch hitter can freely change between both styles to stay very unpredictable. Recalling the legends, he thinks about famous guys like Marvin Hagler who used the same technique to win their titles. Staring at the talented kid, the veteran coach asks if this unique strategy is the answer he finally came up with. Shouting with pure determination, the protagonist yells yes because he is ready to master this new way of fighting. Old coach gets his training mitts ready while telling the young man he wants to see his true power. Unleashing a rapid series of punches, the rookie strikes the targets with impressive speed and precision. Moving with sharp reflexes, the veteran mentor tests his student's timing by shifting the pads constantly. Focusing intently, the gray-haired man prepares for the next round of this grueling boxing practice session. From a low perspective, we see the intensity of the workout as the gloves hit the white leather targets. Observing the change, the boy realizes he must adapt to a southpaw position to improve his fighting style. Stomping his red boxing shoes, the talented athlete tries to switch his stance without losing his balance. Suddenly, the protagonist crashes onto the hard floor as his legs fail to follow the complicated movement. Looking totally confused, the youngster admits that switching his footing in one go is much harder than expected. Shouting at the top of his lungs, the old master tells him to get up because every beginning is tough. Outside, the sun is shining while the sounds of the intense workout echo through the walls of the building. Hours pass by and night finally falls over the city, but the training inside the facility still continues. Gasping for air, the tired boy asks if they can finally stop since his body is reaching its absolute limit. Laughing through the fatigue, the leader yells that he is the person dying because the kid has too much energy. Bowing deeply, the hero thanks his teacher while the boss tells him to rest before he wrecks his entire frame. Even though it is time to stop, the boxer keeps training while his coach yells for him to finally take a rest already. Quietly, the old man explains that the opponent relies on experience but has never faced a monster like this talented kid before. During the match, the announcer screams as the title holder falls to the canvas after a huge exchange of powerful hits. Gritting his teeth, the champion looks up with an intense gaze as he refuses to lose his belt to a simple rookie like him. Using his unique style, the protagonist makes it feel like the rival is fighting two different people at once in this bout. After trading knockdowns, the announcer says the match is heading into round 3 while the champion looks a bit shaken. In the other corner, the opponent's coach screams that they must have cooked up this switch hitting style just for this fight. Pointing at the ring, the old coach tells his student that he is now only one single step away from grabbing the gold belt. Meanwhile, the rival trainer orders his fighter to head back out and show everyone exactly why he is still the reigning king. Staring each other down, both warriors realize that the real fight is only just beginning as the two of them return to the ring. Raising his red gloves, the young protagonist gets into a solid fighting stance while sweat drips down his very focused face. Across the canvas, the champion raises his own white gloves and prepares to defend his title with everything he has left. Suddenly, the sound of a loud stomp echoes through the arena as both fighters lunge forward with incredible speed at once. Lunging forward with a massive punch, the title holder tries to end the match quickly while the boy prepares to dodge the strike. Executing a perfect counter, the rookie lands a solid hit on his opponent's face that sends sweat flying across the ring. Moving like a complete ghost, the veteran fighter somehow manages to slip the incoming punch using very agile head movement. Sliding his feet across the mat, the champion quickly changes his angle to stay out of the young challenger's range. With a very intense gaze, the title holder focuses on a tiny opening in the boy's guard while preparing his next big move. Slipping under a wild swing, the professional boxer gets into a perfect position to unleash another devastating counter punch. Widening his eyes in total shock, the young hero sees a white blur approaching his face with terrifying speed and power. The young boxer lunges forward with a powerful strike while his red gloves blur through the air from the speed of the hit. Connecting with a loud sound, the punch smashes right into the center of the champion's face, making him lose some balance. Moving like a ghost, the rookie shows off his incredible footwork while constantly shifting his body to confuse the rival. Both warriors glare at each other with intense focus while sweat pours down their faces during this brutal title match. Launching a non-stop flurry of attacks, the talented kid keeps pressing forward without giving the champ any room to breathe. Slipping under a wild swing, the protagonist delivers a devastating hook that echoes throughout the entire crowded arena. Watching from the side, the coach and his teammate look completely stunned by the high level of boxing they are seeing now. The announcers scream in pure excitement about the incredible exchange while both boxers show a level of focus that is scary. Feeling the heat of the battle, the young man barely avoids a heavy blow while his hair flies around from the impact nearby. The commentator yells that the hits are starting to pile up on the challenger as the hero continues his relentless assault. Realizing the opponent is already reacting to his tricks, the boy knows he must switch his rhythm even faster to survive. Pivoting his red shoes firmly on the canvas, the trainee executes a lightning-fast stance change to catch the rival off guard. Looking completely surprised, the dark-haired boy wonders how the professional was able to see through his hidden movement. The title holder stares back with a very serious gaze while waiting for the next big move from the promising young rookie. Thinking to himself, the champion notes the kid is still not used to the switch style and prepares his own final counter. With a look of pure focus, the young fighter declares that everything happening inside the ring is just part of the game. His eyes are wide with intensity while sweat drips down his face during this extremely high-speed moment in the boxing match. Standing tall and shredded in his white and red gear, the rookie shows off the results of his brutal training sessions. Suddenly, the boy looks completely lost and wonders why he isn't fighting the champion Quan Tae-jin anymore. Looking ahead into the white void, he spots a familiar silhouette standing far away in the distance. The legendary fighter stands with his back turned while telling the young boy to snap out of his dazed state. A confident smile appears on the champion's face as he prepares to show the rookie what a real king looks like. With glowing blue eyes, he tells our hero that this is the exact moment he has been dreaming of for so long. The protagonist's expression changes to one of total shock as he realizes something important about the current fight. Wondering if he just saw his life flash before his eyes, the young man tries to make sense of the strange light. Shifting his weight quickly, his red shoes pivot on the canvas as he prepares to unleash a lightning-fast movement. Moving like a ghost, the boy easily ducks under a wild haymaker thrown by his brown-haired opponent in the ring. Before the rival can even react, a powerful red glove smashes right into his ribs with an explosive sound. Looking completely stunned, the other fighter feels the air leave his lungs as the massive impact rattles his entire body. While staring down at his target, the opponent is left speechless because he cannot believe the rookie actually dodged his hit. Looking completely dazed, the young fighter admits he is not really sure what is going on in his own head right now. But as the fight continues, a massive and confident smile suddenly begins to spread across his bruised face. Feeling absolutely incredible, the rookie declares that he is finally ready to show his true power in this match. Across the ring, the champion thinks to himself that he can no longer hear the loud cheers from the massive crowd. Staring intensely, the rival admits all he can feel is his opponent as he welcomes the boy to the zone. Getting back into their fighting stances, both of the talented warriors prepare for the most intense round ever. Launching a lightning-fast jab, the professional boxer tries to catch the kid with a heavy straight punch. Moving like a ghost, the protagonist slips to the side and lands a brutal red hook right on the man's surprised face. Gritting his teeth in pure frustration, the veteran refuses to let this teenager take control of the match. Unleashing another powerful hit, the brown-haired fighter tries to keep his foe at a distance with his long reach. But the young man manages to break through the defense and lands a clean strike that sends sweat flying everywhere. Ducking down low, the hero effortlessly avoids a wild swing while getting into a perfect position to attack back. Connecting with massive force, the student delivers a devastating blow that rattles the champion's entire head. With some incredibly quick and agile footwork, the kid slips past another attack while the tension reaches its peak. Stomping his red boxing shoes firmly on the mat, the trainee gathers all his strength for the final exchange. Launching a powerful strike, the young fighter smashes his fist directly into the other man's face with massive force. In the middle of the ring, the rookie maintains his focus while throwing a straight jab that lands perfectly on the target. Quickly ducking down low, he avoids a dangerous punch as the wind from the strike whistles right past his head. Connecting with incredible speed, the protagonist lands a clean hit on his opponent's jaw, making the entire arena roar. Showing a very intense gaze, the brown-haired rival tries to stay calm even though he is taking a lot of heavy damage. Suddenly his face twists from the sheer power of the impact as another red glove blurs through the air toward him. Stunned by the relentless assault, the other fighter feels his vision blur while struggling to keep his feet on the mat. Moving his head to the side, the opponent looks down in frustration as the rookie continues to dominate the whole match. Delivering a massive blow, the main character puts all of his weight into a strike that catches his rival off balance. Glaring with pure determination, the brown-haired boxer refuses to give up despite being cornered against the ropes. Staring with his golden eyes, the talented boy focuses on his goal while preparing to finish this intense confrontation. Looking completely sharp, he ignores the fatigue in his muscles as he waits for a perfect opening to end the fight. Feeling the pressure mount, the rival grits his teeth while sweat drips down his bruised face from the heavy exertion. Unleashing a devastating uppercut, the hero sends the bigger man flying backward with a single and explosive movement. Finally, a green frog appears on the screen saying "Ribbit" as the intense action of the boxing match takes a short break. Standing alone in the dark, our little protagonist admits that he has never known what it feels like to fail at anything. Being the only son of a rich lawyer, the boy lived a life where he got every single thing he ever wanted from his family. Pushing him on the playground, his mother warns that the swing is way too dangerous for him to use all by himself. Staring into the distance, the kid thinks about going higher on his own because nothing in his life ever feels exciting. Complaining about the child, an old relative says being left-handed is a problem that the parents really need to fix. Defending himself, the teenager asks if being a southpaw is some kind of disease while his family looks on in surprise. Looking back on his past, those annoying words from his relative became the main trigger for his rebellious teenage years. Walking with a friend, the boy decides he needs a change of pace, so he follows his buddy straight to a local boxing gym. Entering the training center, he sees the heavy sandbags and the ring, which look like a whole new world to the young man. Suddenly, the protagonist feels like he can finally breathe as he takes in the intense atmosphere of the crowded gym. Sitting on the edge of a deep well, a small green frog makes a sound representing how the boy felt trapped in his old life. Realizing his true talent, the young fighter discovers that being left-handed is actually a massive advantage in the ring. Smashing the heavy sandbag, the loud and powerful sound of the impact makes the boy feel a huge rush of pure excitement. Taking a hard punch to his headgear, the rookie experiences the sting of pain for the first time while trying to stay focused. Grinning through the struggle, he finally starts to enjoy the sharp smell of sweat and the metallic taste of blood in a fight. Looking at his reflection, the brown-haired fighter feels proud because the champion belt became his without much hardship. Inside the gym, the coach approaches with a big smile and asks if he wants to try a new sparring offer from a strong rival. With a confident smirk, the boy thinks this will be easy peasy while he prepares to face the East Asia Pacific pro. Suddenly his face changes to a look of pure shock as he realizes that his earlier thoughts were completely wrong. Sitting on the cold mat, the young boxer looks totally defeated while he struggles to process the power of the other guy. Standing tall, the mysterious long-haired fighter shows a huge gap in skill that the rookie cannot even measure right now. Realizing the world is actually massive, he thinks about ruling as the king in Korea for just a little bit longer. Staring at a stone well, he hears a ribbit and wonders if he is still just a small child being pushed on a swing by his mom. During a pre-fight interview, the protagonist holds the microphone and declares that he will win this time just like always. Thinking back, he realizes that saying no problem was just a defense mechanism because he was secretly scared of losing. Grinning with a cheerful smile, the opponent named Taejin screams that he will definitely win this important match. Getting even more excited, the rival announces his plan to challenge for the regional title very soon. Listening to the bold words, our hero thinks the other guy is arrogant for looking past their upcoming fight. Glaring with an intense look, the young fighter cannot accept that his foe is already aiming much higher than him. On the stone sits a small green frog as a metaphor for a person who does not know how big the real world actually is. High above a green field, a massive eagle peers down into a stone well where a tiny frog sits alone. Spreading its giant wings, the bird of prey takes flight and leaves the small creature behind in the dark hole. Watching from below, the little frog wonders why that bird is allowed to stand so high above everything else. Suddenly a blinding light fills the entire sky as the bright sun shines down on the empty and quiet field. A shiny golden championship belt with the word Korea engraved on it appears as the ultimate prize for a fighter. Standing in the center of the ring, the rookie looks completely exhausted while wearing the heavy gold belt. Looking confused, the boy wonders how he managed to win since he cannot even remember the final moments of the fight. Hearing his name being called, the tired fighter turns around with a surprised look while trying to catch his breath. Running forward, his teammate jumps into a big hug and yells that the little punk did a truly amazing job today. Feeling very shy, the protagonist turns red and mumbles a quiet thank you while being held by his happy friend. Realizing what she just did, the girl suddenly gets very flustered and her face turns a bright shade of pink. Jumping back quickly, the teammate apologizes for her sudden reaction while both of them feel incredibly awkward now. The sound of loud clapping fills the massive arena as the audience begins to celebrate this incredible victory. Cheering wildly, the fans scream for the new hero to carry on the legacy and move toward the world stage soon. Holding the microphone, the announcer shouts that no one expected this underdog to rise up and win the whole thing. The announcer screams into the microphone and introduces the new champion named Lee Gang-chan to the cheering crowd. Looking up with a huge smile on his face, the young hero shouts a massive thank you to everyone in the entire arena. A man in a suit asks who he wants to thank now that he has become a professional champion in such a short time. The boy laughs while holding the microphone and starts by expressing his gratitude to all of the fans who supported him. He mentions his gym family, which includes his teammate Seo-yoon and the old coach who always stayed by his side. The young fighter also remembers to mention Hwang In-young, who was his very first opponent in his professional debut. Then he calls out the name of Ruji, the Japanese fighter who helped him find his own unique rhythm inside the ring. Back in the village, all the elders are crying with joy while watching their favorite grandson on a small television. The boy especially mentions Grandma Young-hee while a photo of the kind lady who raised him is shown on the screen. Continuing his long list, he thanks the bakery girl and even the cat by the traffic light as the announcer looks confused. The protagonist then turns to the former champion Kwon Tae-jin and thanks him for providing such a great match today. With a small smile on his bruised face, the defeated warrior listens to the rookie's sincere and humble words of thanks. Staring back with a look of pure determination, the brown-haired man declares that he will not lose during their next fight. The young hero looks his rival in the eye and simply replies that they will definitely face each other again someday. Under a bright blue sky, two eagles fly together toward the sun, representing the bright future for these two powerful rivals. Standing under the bright sky, the Gangseongdo Boxing Gym building shows its name clearly to the entire city. Hanging on the wall, 3 golden national championship belts prove this place is a home for elite winners. Training very hard, the young hero gets media attention while his female fanbase grows due to his handsome face. Secretly pleased, the old coach observes his student while his friend makes a funny comment about the boy. Suddenly, Seo-yoon feels her own fighting spirit fire up while she notices her teammate getting all the praise. Interestingly, the girl starts getting many male fans of her own who cheer for her with colorful signs. Looking very cold, she tells the kids to go home and study because she is a classic tsundere type of person. Surprisingly, senior Sungwoo has 0 female followers, but a group of guys loves his rough and tough style. Yelling at his noisy supporters, the boxer tells them to just go home as the crowd continues to shout. Grabbing the heavy barbell, the main character starts lifting more weight to move up to a new category. Squatting with the massive steel, the trainee begins a bulking cycle to fix all his current weaknesses.